A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen dinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll still say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but for me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
All right, it's us. Woo! Here we are.
Hello, how you doing, everybody? I'm seeing a lot of lock balls in chat. That's neat. Do you know what that is?
How does one lock their balls? I don't know, but I want to find out.
Well, this is going to make so much sense to you. You learn about it through playing the Golem game about locking your balls. So
Okay.
it's just good that everyone's finally realized it's a common problem. A lot of males suffer from it, and I'm just glad that we're getting some awareness out there. It's important.
I think so. Yeah, people suffering from locked balls are a marginalized group, and it's about time they they had their day in court. You know? Get a chance to
justice. That's what we talk about here. And locked balls.
Yeah, that's all. That's what we're all about on the open bar. I mean, how's your trauma from Golem going on? Like, how are you coping with it so far?
We've fully finalized and released the supercut. I'm done with it. I'm moving on. Okay, it's not like when I walk down the street and I hear someone say Golem that I go, or whenever I see Andy Serkis in a movie, I'm just like, oh god, there he is. What's he gonna do? No, I'm fine. I'm getting over it. I'm fine. Yeah, 100%.
Good stuff. No, I'm glad you made it through it. And hey, you had a few laughs along the way. You had a journey. I think that's what you want from a video game, isn't it? You want to enjoy yourself.
I had an arc. It was amazing.
You did, yeah.
I learned.
Well, what do you say we bring in some guests this evening?
I'm on board with that. Let's do it.
All right. Well, we've got first up Smokey, the critical doggo. He's looking good this evening. As you can see, he's very chilled out tonight. I don't even know if this counts as nudity or whatever on YouTube, but
I call it interpretive dance. It's that's just sharing opinions. That's what we can do about it these days. That's how we do it.
I would say we could all do with being a bit more greyhound in our lives. Why stress about things? Why stress about little things in your life when you could just be like that?
Yeah.
Kick back.
When someone says, oh, what's your opinion of the Flash movie? You just make that pose, and they understand.
I think they'll get it, yeah. I sort of regret giving him that bottle of vodka in his water bowl earlier. Yeah, I don't think it's gone down too well, but, people asked for the dog cam back, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. I present you the critical doggo. So,
and this is the dog being comfortable, yes?
I mean, I hope so.
I hope so.
He's either comfortable or he's dead. I'm not quite sure. It's hard to tell with greyhounds sometimes. But yeah, it should be okay. So we'll leave him there. Yeah, who knows? He might move at some point in the evening. You never quite know. And that's the interesting thing. But yeah, we've also got joining us this evening Chris Gore and Paul Chato. They will be with us shortly. But we didn't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. And because we're so organized at Open Bar, we just thought, what the hell? We'll just get started and jump right
into the bar like, hey, let's do it.
Hi, everybody. It's worked for the past 53 years of Open Bar, so what can I say? But no, we bring you some good news to begin the evening. And brace yourself, MauLer, because this is truly good news. In a time when multiple projects are getting delayed or cancelled, rest assured, Velma Season 2 is okay.
Oh, thank God.
It's been officially renewed, and it's going to be coming out, I believe, next year. But it says,
steam ahead. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Velma Season 2 is officially happening at Warner Brothers Discovery. So they've confirmed that the animated series is going to return for a second season. Despite the criticism, the series has become the most watched animated show on the streaming platform.
I'm pretty sure Disprue would have something to say about how that works in terms of the statistics. But then again, he's also probably 50% of the viewership, so I'm sure he'd have
in a time when we've lost Gotham Knights, and it's been cancelled, at least we can take some comfort from the fact that Velma is coming back. So, I don't know about you, I'm pleased about that. I can't wait to hear more about how straight white rich guys are the source of everything bad in the whole world.
You know, it's one of those things. When it comes out, I'm hoping to avoid it because I'm just gonna hear about the horrors. But she ain't getting past season 2, right? It stops there, right?
You
I mean, the
say that.
CW died eventually. Surely the same fate is deserved for Velma. But yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Is all the hate watching the thing that like kept the show going?
I
Like it's
don't
just
buy it, drinker. I don't buy it.
well, we say that, but like there must be a lot of people who tuned in just to see how bad it was, and well, it turned out it was really bad. But I mean, it counts as views, I guess. I don't know.
Well, then what happened to all the other shows that have been hate watched? Why did they make it? Well, Batwoman. They only made it. It's like I was about to say 3 seasons. It's more like one big season and then 2 like half season things. I don't even know.
I
But,
just I'd love to see the makers of I don't know Velma and Cleopatra just like meeting up in some like after show party or something like. So yeah, we've collectively produced the most hated projects in all of human history. Like, how do you
yeah.
feel?
Hey,
Great.
we can all learn from a bad example, and that's what Velma season 2 will definitely be, I'd imagine.
I mean, I guess like I wonder how much worse it'll get. Like, is this were they trying to like play it safe with season one? Were they holding back a little bit? And now we're gonna see Velma unleashed. It's
Ooh.
truly gonna be all of Mindy Kaling's hatred and
Imagine it's like
condensed.
really good. Like it comes out and we're all incredibly impressed. It's like amazing animation and storytelling. We're just like, all right, okay.
I mean, I guess it could happen theoretically. I mean, it would
You
be
don't want to
nice.
rule it out, you know. You never know.
It could truly be the greatest redemption arc in the history of entertainment.
Come on, chat, admit it. You all love a redemption arc. Let's root for Mindy Kaling to surprise us all.
You can do it, Mindy. We believe in you.
She's like, really? And we're like, sure, why not?
Yeah. But yeah, that is the one piece of good news. But tragically,
Oh god.
there has been so many projects getting delayed and cancelled and stuff because of the strike action that's going on in Hollywood right now.
Hmm.
And well, I mean, I've got like a short list of some of them. Damn, let's take a quick look, shall we? Yeah, so because of the writer's strike, we've got the Star Wars movies have been pushed back to 2026. So that's an untitled Star Wars movie. So that's probably the Rey one, I guess.
My son, whichever the first one was going to be the Ray one, I assume the one they would rush. Then they say something like the Mando one will come later because they've got to do more bullshit TV shows first to get their storyline along, and then the whole first Jedi one. That one I feel like is in the most danger of being just outright cancelled.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the
I
Ray
think
one, I don't know why, I just feel like the Ray one will happen. I feel like that's something they want to do.
I feel like they're all in danger of being cancelled. Like if Indy 5 flops, and don't worry, we'll get onto that soon enough.
Oh,
Yeah, but if that flops, I would expect a few changes at Lucasfilm. But yeah, that's Star Wars. Avatar 3, which I'm sure everyone's excited about, that's shifted to December 2025. So yeah, we've got a year and a half to go for that one.
Hmm.
And Avatar 4, apparently that's going to be December 2029. And the final Avatar is going to be 2031. So that's just,
Do you know
I
it's
can't.
funny? You say the final Avatar, and I'm like, well, Avatar fucking 10? Like, how many of these are going to be? And it's like, oh, 5. You're like, oh.
5 in total. And if they carry on with their current trajectory, people are going to keep watching them, and they're probably going to make like $15 billion from this. It's insanity.
I suppose they are.
But it's really impacted Marvel. So you've got Captain America, New World Order. Sorry, no, Brave New World. They've changed
Hmm.
that. It's moving back to July of 2024. Thunderbolts has been delayed till December 2024. Blade, which apparently is still a thing, is coming out in 2025. And Fantastic Four is coming out in May in 2025. Oh yeah, and Kang Dynasty, that's been pushed back an entire year. So that's starting. It was going to be May 2025, and it's now May 2026. Yeah, and Avengers Secret Wars, that was originally going to be May in 2026, and it's going back to 2027.
Hmm.
That is brutal.
Oh yeah.
It's the domino effect, I suppose, when you've got a franchise like this, when you've got so many interconnected movies, and wow, they are still trying to push them out there as quickly as they can. Yeah, so they're all kind of getting pushed back with this. And man, I guess it just depends how long this strike goes on, because potentially it
Yeah.
could drag on for the remainder of the year, and you just don't know like how much of a knock-on effect this is going to have.
And then, of course, like, how much are people gonna care about? I'm really wondering what an Avengers movie can pull now by the time we get around, because it's one of those films that the component parts really help to boost it. Obviously, all of the like, why did everyone go to see Avengers? It's like, oh well, I like that Iron Man movie. And I remember the Thor movie came out. They're gonna meet up. It's like a Captain America guy too. It's like, oh okay. And with this, you're just like, it's already bad enough with who's gonna be starring in it, but to push it that much further too, it's like, what's going to happen by the time we've seen the Marvels and Captain America 4? It's like, imagine no one's going to care about anything to do with the MCU.
I mean, I'm
'Cause,
looking now, like just out of curiosity, I wanted to see how Guardians 3 was doing now that it's been out for, damn, well over a month. It's like May 5th that came out. So it's sitting at 808 million worldwide, which is, it's pretty good. I'm not going to knock it. Like, that's a decent haul for a Marvel movie at this point, but it's likely to be the last big draw that they have.
it is like, if there was one movie that was going to make the kind of money that did in this time, you kind of almost don't want it to be Guardians, because it's the only one they can't bank on in future. It's like, it's done. It's over. You can bank on the
Yeah.
Guardians as an IP, but not James Gunn's Guardians, which, so, and not to mention, like, anybody who's going to say, like, oh, what a great movie from him. It's like, well, go follow him to the DC, their competition. That's where he is now.
Yeah. And
So,
well,
yeah.
however long that lasts, we'll wait and see. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I can't imagine what a Guardians movie that wasn't directed by James Gunn would look like. It would be probably not very
Yeah.
good, I would imagine.
Well, when they do their first attempt at a Guardians film without him, everyone's going to be like, well, here we go. And if they get someone like fucking Peyton Reed to do it, then it's fucked.
I think it'll just be Sean Gunn as the main character.
I don't even know. And I'm sure Sean Gunn will be told by James to just do it, man. Just get it there and do it for as long as they'll allow you.
Just get as many credits as you can, man. Go for it.
Ooh. What a weird place it's all in, They were a juggernaut, and now they're this frail old man who's crawling across the floor trying to just get some water.
I mean, this is a funny position that we're in, like, because we're obviously talking a movie that is made like $800 million, so that's a hell of a haul. But like, we know that this is it's a blip in all probability.
Well, if it was the Marvels that made that kind of money, then I'd be like, oh shit, maybe the MCU isn't quite as dead or dying as I thought. But I think now, with the information we've got about Ant-Man and Guardians sets, I think, a ceiling. There's no way the Marvels could make more than Guardians, so that is the absolute highest. But it probably wouldn't make that. It's probably going to be like 100 billion below it is the actual ceiling. But like, it probably won't make more than Ant-Man. It could go as low as Shazam, and the Flash is going to be another bit of information. But like, how low does the Marvels have to go before everyone is like, "Whoa, you guys are in serious trouble"?
I mean, like, you never quite know what sort of dirty tricks they're going to pull to try and like make this a success. Because like, there's all kinds of implications that they did that last time around, like buying out up the airport tickets and stuff. But I think they've long since abandoned the idea that Captain Marvel is going to be a thing. That she's going to lead the MCU. She's going to be the new Tony Stark or whatever. Like, I think even maybe Brie Larson might be done with it. Like, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if she does this, like they promote it, and then she's out, and she moves on to other projects. Because I don't think, if I was her, I wouldn't want to do this, because she gets a lot of hate, I would imagine, for playing this role, and probably she's just like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. I'm done. I want to move on to other stuff.
What has she gained in 5 years? It's been basically nothing.
It's not been in much, has she?
Yeah, and like, it's not like her reputation or profile has improved at all. And like, yeah, you're in the MCU, I guess, but like, what is that anymore? And I wonder if agents all around are going to stop being like, maybe the MCU isn't something you want to do anything you can to get into.
I imagine it'll become a home for like has-beens and like never will be's. You know, just
Well,
like old actors that are at the tail end of their careers. They just want to get a quick and easy payday.
you thinking of
And
Harrison Ford or?
yeah, and like I was gonna say Kurt Russell. He's not like, you know, a has-been or anything, but like he's an older actor, and maybe was just like, yeah, this like I could be in Guardians 2 and just like, you know,
You got Charlize Theron joining recently, you know, with the MOM, right?
yeah.
I'm sure that'll be fun.
Again, look, as a mainstream actress, she's kind of like, and I hate to say this, but actresses have got a pretty short shelf life, and she's probably transitioning towards the later stages of her career because she's like mid-40s now.
And she's already
And
played a
those,
witch, right? They always end up
yeah,
playing a witch at some point.
those leading lady roles are going to dry up pretty quickly, and they probably have to some extent. And you know, it's no criticism of her, but that's just the reality of how these things are done now. I was also looking just at Little Mermaid, just out of curiosity for the box office. So that's now sitting at 422 million worldwide. I don't. Yeah, it's down to like a couple of million per day, so it's probably not going to get much more realistically. Yeah, this movie in a franchise that's routinely getting like over $1 billion. You know, these Disney live action remakes. This will be lucky to reach 500 million at this rate because it's been out for what? Damn, 19 days now. So we're almost at 3 weeks. They're not going to get much more realistically, and I think this is going to finish well short of 500 million.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how much of an impact that will make on the future of the live action remakes.
Probably not much because they've got a ton more. They've even got
Oh,
a
yeah.
live action Bambi lined up. Like, what the fuck?
I've seen all the memes about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like how deer like don't really convey emotions very well when you see them. In live
Yeah.
action.
Well, it'll make $1 billion, or will it?
Well, yeah. But hey, we've got guests ready. Chris Gore is joining us now, so let's bring this man in. Hey, man. Hello, Your Honor.
Drinker, thanks. Last week, you killed it on the show, so thank you for that. It was an amazing, courageous performance in court, so thank you for that.
I honestly think it was the defense that gave a courageous performance because they had their work cut out for them there, man.
Yeah, no kidding. But I feel like I'm here. I feel like, I don't know if we're going to be talking about a film, but it feels more like a funeral because what I saw is the death of another IP. I mean, it's...
Well, this is what we were going to talk to you about. Yeah, you have seen Indiana Jones 5, and I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts.
Well, I'll give you just sort of broad strokes first. What's interesting is that the first 20 minutes of the movie actually feels like an Indiana Jones film. It's Indiana Jones at the end of World War II, with, of course, as the Nazis are loading antiquities into a train, he's trying to steal some with the help of a new friend named Basil, and it had all the makings of Indiana Jones, like down to the way it was cut, the action was staged. It's a young Indiana Jones, and even though, yes, it's not perfect, it's far better than we saw in Rogue One. I thought the Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia were awful. I don't know about you. It looked very digital. This was the most convincing use of this technique that I've seen thus far. So, and it just had all that, like, you know, mix of humor, mix of action, Indy being put in odd situations and getting out of it because he's thinking creatively. What was interesting is, and unfortunately you may not notice this until I point it out, Harrison Ford is an actor. He doesn't act just with his face. He acts with his entire body. When you look at his body language, I mean, he is a very physical actor. When you look at his body language, even the way he stands, and the actor who was the double for his young body isn't Harrison Ford, isn't young Harrison Ford, just isn't. So that was a detail that stood out to me. But it's a fun opening action sequence trying to get this dial that is Archimedes' dial, right? That's the opening. Cut to the present day present day in his world, late 60s. And it's a sad very sad, shirtless Indiana Jones that we see in his apartment with divorce papers, and his son is died in Vietnam. It's,
Oh,
Aw,
for fuck's sake!
jeez.
yeah, yeah. This is
They
all
they actually like hate this character, don't they?
well.
Like Lucasfilm now.
I mean, yeah, I think they hate any sort of legacy male character that is beloved and revered. But so Indy goes to. I'm just giving you the sort of broad strokes here, but he's still teaching a class, but he's retiring, and goes to teach his class with a bunch of uninterested students who don't care. Kind of, I think that's more of a comment on today. And someone in the back of the class knows all the answers and knows them all too well. And of course, it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Yeah,
course
and
it
she's
is.
smarter than everybody. If there could be, imagine Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, but times 10 in terms of
Oh,
being
God.
impeccable. It ends up being she's not the romantic interest, obviously. She is the co-star, co-lead with Indiana Jones, and she is the one driving the story. She's the one because of her father is this character Basil who we meet in the beginning. He is since passed away, and she wants to find the dial and wants Indy's help. And she doesn't. I've never seen a more unlikable character, and even the reviews out of Cannes all talked about this. This isn't new or original thought. She is so unlikable, not just in the way she's written, but just in her performance. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge has no experience. I mean, what movie can you? She's not been in a movie that has any significant box office where you could say this person brings something. This person has a presence, and she's just. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what if like someone that was more age appropriate for Harrison Ford, like maybe Nicole Kidman or a Kate Winslet or older.
That could have been cool, maybe.
Yeah, like an actress with a bit of like gravitas and a bit of
Experience.
charisma. Yeah.
And you could accept being kind of an asshole sometimes, but you still like her. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is an asshole, and you don't like her. They spend significant time explaining her backstory, her relationship with her father. There's a flashback sequence where both she and Indy are remembering the last time they saw each other when she was 12 years old. And the dial was part of this conversation. Then you go into not just, more about her, but how she found her sidekick, Teddy, which is like the magical brown person in the movie. I'm not making this up. Literally, he is a magical brown little boy, and so like everything he does, he can take care of anything. He's a pickpocket. He can find this. He can fly a plane. Like it's really just. I felt at some point in the movie, I just felt sad because they're not. This is how I just was like, I know that this moment as crafted is supposed to lead me to a place where I would erupt in laughter or applause. That didn't happen. The audience that I was with, which was very was just polite, they did applaud at the end, which I was very surprised. I didn't, but it was just bizarre to see. And I find it bizarre that they screened the film 2 weeks before it opens to general critics, and I'm pretty sure the reason they're doing that is this is the home team. They need to boost that Rotten Tomatoes score. I think it's at 57% currently. So this is an attempt to boost it.
Do you think it was genuine overconfidence? Like they really thought people were going to lap this up, and they thought this was going to be a great movie?
I don't know, because look, I know my taste is not mainstream taste. So a lot of times I don't know. Like I think normies will love The Flash. I think The Flash is a crowd pleaser popcorn movie. Is it a good movie? No. Did I like the Batman stuff? Yes, but that's just for personal reasons. But I don't know how a paying audience is going to take this film. Especially, there's so many moments, and I'll give you a few examples, where there are lines that normally would have been Indiana Jones lines or situations that are Helena's. So they just wrote her as young Indiana Jones. That is how she's written. So there's a scene where they're in Morocco and some guy pulls up wearing pajamas and he has a machete, and Helena says, "Oh, hey, Raheem, wow, why are you wearing your pajamas?" And she's betrayed this guy somehow. So then he's after her. So they're like two groups of people trying to get her. And it's also made very clear in the movie that she sleeps around to get what she wants. So she finds some booze, and it's in this boat that they're in. They're on a mission to find something underwater. She finds some booze. Oh, this is a good start to the day. And then a shirtless guy walks by, even better. She sees a bunch of guys. Like, it's just implied that she's sleeping around to get whatever. So it doesn't work. I'm just telling you what happened. It gets no reaction from the audience. It's as uber feminist as you could go. I almost feel like this character and this movie was written for one audience, and the audience is Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
I'm not
essentially every Lucasfilm project at this point is like written for Kathleen Kennedy. Like, what other British brunette stand-in can we have for her? Just before we go on, Chris, I just want to bring in Paul as well, because he's just waiting in backstage.
Sure.
Paul Chato, welcome back, sir. It's been a while since we've had you on the bar. So
and my apologies for coming in late. I had put it down for 4:30, and I just double checked the time, but I can blame it on being a former network executive.
That's okay. Yeah, Chris.
And all I would have been doing all this time is listening to Chris anyway. And you, thanks for having me on.
No, it's great. I'm keen to get your input on a couple of different things as we go through this. But I was just listening to Chris's breakdown of Indy 5. I don't know how much you're allowed to say, Chris, but like in terms of the ending, like the original leaks had suggested that it's going to be just setting up Phoebe Waller-Bridge as the next Indiana Jones.
Well, I mean,
does it do that?
Reviews have already broken. I can say whatever you want. It's really up to your audience if you want spoilers. But
Chris, does she put on the hat? Does she put on the hat?
She does not put on the hat.
All right, let's put it to chat. Okay, do you want us to spoil some of the ending? Yes or no? Let's see what they say. Give it a few seconds to come through it. They're going to say yes. Of course it is. Someone said soil it. So
yeah,
soil it.
Okay. Yeah, do it, Chris. Soil it.
Okay, so the ending, there's a whole bunch of logistical details, but basically the discovery is that the dial is not a time travel device. It opens up a portal that goes to one place and one time only in history, which is this battle of Rome and Greece, and Archimedes in the midst of that. He's looking for someone from the future to to turn the tide in this battle, right? That's basically why he created the dial. So,
okay.
But Voller,
I love this idea. It's like I'm losing a battle, so you know what I'm gonna do? My solution is to build a fucking like time travel machine that will allow someone from like 1,000 years from now to come back and maybe figure out how to turn the tide of this thing. So, assuming they find it and understand what it is. Sure, okay.
Unconventional.
Right. Jürgen Voller's plan that's Mads Mikkelsen's character, is to basically restore, Hitler's Germany, basically go back. He doesn't care about saving Hitler. He's just going to go back and fix all of his mistakes so he can be the new Führer.
But I thought you said it only goes back to Archimedes' time.
No, but see, he didn't know that. He thought it was a time travel device.
Then he didn't see the instructions first.
Yeah.
So what is everyone using it? And it just keeps taking them back to like this battle.
Why does everyone think it's a time travel device then?
Because it's the Dial of Destiny by Archimedes, and who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
What does the Ark of the Covenant do? I don't know. It's
not a time travel device. I know that much. It's a melty device.
But it's
a melty device.
So
it's too bad it doesn't have caveat emptor on it.
Yeah. So through the entire third act, Indiana Jones has been shot in the chest. He's dying basically, and I don't want to go into details of what Helena goes up in the plane to try to save him. They parachute, they meet Archimedes, and Indiana Jones just wants to die. And I say, I kind of relate to just like, relate to that in terms of this franchise at this point.
Do they meet Bill and Ted?
They don't.
Yeah.
It would have been funny if it was like Endgame. Every time travel character just comes through there. Doc Brown and everyone.
Did they meet Marion or anyone?
Well, I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
He says they're in the past and they do have an intact plane to get back to their back to their time period. And he says, I just want to stay here and die. So Helena punches him in the face, knocks him unconscious, cut to black. He wakes up in his bed in his apartment in New York City.
Now I'm gonna say this, man. I hate to say this, Doomcock fucking broke this and said that this was what it was going to be, and he was right on this one. Credit to the man.
Wow.
Now, there were some thoughts about these reshoots that she goes back and re-experiences his adventures as him. That doesn't happen. However, looking at the way they structured this ending, it's easily something they could have changed through reshoots. So they could have set it up to be that he just decides to die in the past, and then she goes on to basically take the mantle. That doesn't happen. So he wakes up in his New York apartment. She shows up. Sala shows up. And then Marion shows up with little Teddy, who's helping him with groceries. And it's Marion. And they actually have a very touching moment that's sort of a reverse version of the moment they had on the ship, where everything hurts everywhere except for here, the elbow, right? And they have like a romantic moment that's very sweet. Well, that is kind of reconstructed. I will say, I have to give kudos to the filmmakers for restraint. There weren't a lot of member berries or callbacks. There were some, but they could have been much more gratuitous with that. And James Mangold, as a director, he did his job as director, but he made the movie Disney wanted him to make. So he's a team player. But like it doesn't feel, at least in terms of recent releases, feel like they're just made in the volume like Ant-Man 3. It's like, well, they made that all on a soundstage. It doesn't feel like that as much. But it is, so they have this touching moment, and then Helena goes off. She's on another adventure, and we follow her like she's off to adventure. He stays home with Marion, and they do a little iris in on the hat, and Indy's hand grabs his own hat. So, but the whole point is that they set her up to be like, hey, wouldn't you want to see a Helena solo movie?
No.
Based on everything you've described, it sounds horrific. She sounds like the most annoying, unlikable asshole character you could possibly get, and just like every kind of negative meme and stereotype of Lucasfilm at this point. Like, what strong female character are you going to give us this time? And it's like, well, they've done the exact same thing that we predicted they would. They tried to port someone like this in to fill Indiana Jones's shoes, and by the sounds of things, she doesn't have big enough feet for it. It's not going to work.
Sorry, she's playing the same character from her show. What was her show? The British
Fleabag.
Show? Fleabag. Is she playing essentially the same unlikable character?
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I never watched Fleabag. I think I watched the first 20 minutes, and I just because people had constantly recommended it, and I couldn't get through the first episode of the show.
I couldn't.
It doesn't seem like it was made for me. There's an interesting screenshot that one of my mods has shared with me, and it's George Lucas at the premiere of Indy 5 with Harrison Ford. Let me just show you.
Oh, wow.
That man does not look happy with what's happened.
How could he be?
That's just like, look how they massacred my boy. Good Lord.
Yeah.
How's Harrison Ford even happy with this?
I don't know. There's even a scene which I thought was really sad where they're scaling this sort of side of a cave, and Indiana Jones basically says, "Oh, my shoulders, my knees." He's complaining about being old and things being difficult for him, and she's kind of mocking him. At every opportunity, she's the annoying present day feminist who hates men. That's her. Like, and that's her attitude towards him. And it's like, how did anyone think this would be a clever or, enjoyable dynamic for a 2.5 hour movie? I will say this: it's a horrible Indiana Jones film, but it's going to make the greatest EFAP probably ever in EFAP history.
Well,
I mean, does she make a lot of comments about like, oh, things are so hard for women, and it's it sucks being me, and like you don't know how privileged you are, any of that stuff, or is it just more implied?
No, implied, not so much that of just like, she can best any man, and she's good at everything. And name a thing, she's just like, she is. If you thought Ray was a Mary Sue, this is worse by far. Worse. And just the thing is, like, I do think a lot of this comes down to casting. I would actually argue that Captain Marvel, if someone like Katie Sackhoff was in that role and it was slightly rewritten, I think Katie Sackhoff, is likable. I mean, the fact that, that horrible Mandalorian the last season, she's still likable is weird, but I think it's a casting thing. That certain, and there used to be, and Paul can definitely speak to this, like there used to be a thing of, do you know the hoops that actors have to jump through to even get the part of screen tests and this and chemistry tests, right? Like pair different actors together. Famously, of course, Star Wars had 3 different trios to choose from in those roles. And Toshiro Mifune was actually one of the people that was considered for Obi-Wan Kenobi back in the day, right? Like everybody will complain about diversity in the first Star Wars. Lucas was just trying to get through the studio system and make the movie he wanted, whatever, different story. But I don't think that type of care is happening these days in film. That type of, let's look at an actor. Like, what do they, that type of like scrutiny where it's just like, you know what? I hate to say this, you need to lose a certain amount of weight to be, those things are uncomfortable to say, right? But those are the conversations people have, but hey, you get to see Ezra Miller's ass very prominently in The Flash.
Well, don't worry, we'll talk about that soon enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
if this was an older style movie, and because of its numbering, I think they would have had to have pulled off more of like adding a Sean Connery style. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence would have been a better match, because you just want to put stars, pack it with stars. That's where they are in this franchise. This is old style Hollywood, and they didn't do it. Like, who knows Phoebe Waller-Bridge? I mean, it's a big mistake.
And I think that I'm watching this going like, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the person that's unlikable, because Phoebe Waller-Bridge is very good at playing Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She's not an actress she's not a Nicole Kidman or a Kate Winslet where they transform into a different person. Those are accomplished actresses, clearly. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is not that. I'm going to guess this, and this happens a lot in Hollywood, is someone like Phoebe Waller is probably very good in a room. She's very charming. She has the charming British accent. And I'll bet if you had a meeting with her, you would like her. The problem is the camera doesn't like her. And I don't think audiences like her at all. She's the reason this movie is a big failure. But I'm not sure. I mean, also, watching that first 20 minutes, I could have watched an entire movie of just that Indiana Jones, young Indiana Jones. Just give me young Indiana Jones.
That's what people want, yeah.
Yeah, like
they know that. They totally know that.
When you talk about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like I'm always interested to see how like Americans perceive actresses or actors like that, because she seems like her whole shtick, her whole style of humor, her whole persona is very, very British.
Yes.
And I don't know how well that plays in America, because it seems like every so often Hollywood just tries to make another British comedian or another British actor into a thing. They did it with Ricky Gervais and it kind of worked, but then he got like burned out with it and like left. They tried to do it with fucking James Corden. Look how that turned out. And now it seems like they're really trying to do it with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And I don't know if it's
there's
just
one
like
difference. There's one difference is that Hollywood loves Phoebe Waller-Bridge. They love her evil shtick. Like you have to be there. They love what she's doing. It's very different from Corden and Gervais.
Well, in the sense that it's more complex, it's more thoughtful, or
No, it's just a woman being bitchy. They love it.
right.
They just love it. This is power. No, I've talked with people in Hollywood. They just adore her. They love that show.
It's a strange one. Yeah, I mean, it didn't appeal to me in the slightest. Like, I looked at it and just thought, nah, this was not written for me. This was written for like 30-something millennial women who are single and hate the world. And just yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, it's like if you are the type of woman who was on the writing staff for She-Hulk, you will love this movie.
Yes, perfect,
Right.
perfect. That's a perfect corollary.
Yeah,
This idea of like Indy getting knocked out by her and like dragged back to his apartment in New York, and like she basically saves him. What a way for
after
this
he
character
says he wants
to
to
end.
die, which
Well, you know, a strong male lead now being a sad, broken old man who just wants to like give up and die. That's a pretty much standard procedure for Disney at this point. But again, it just plays into all the stupid memes that like have become so predictable and trite that we make fun of them now. But it's like they just keep doing it. You know, it's like, oh, what former male hero are going to destroy now and turn into a sad, pathetic old man? You know, and they could do something crazy like have him actually still be awesome, but no, that would be wrong. They have to just play into it every time.
Well, then you'll absolutely love the first episode of Strange New Worlds, where the IT department descends on the bridge, and Ortegas tells the nerd that she's rewired her console so it would be better than what the men built initially.
Of course,
really?
it is.
True.
Yes, I almost threw up in my cupcake.
Wasn't it nice that like we had one little good, like we had this little blip of like good Star Trek with Picard season 3, and then it's like straight back to business as usual.
Oh my
like,
God!
Time for your next dose of shit, boys. You know?
Oh, and the IT department is okay. Are they white and males? I'll give you 8 seconds.
I would say yes.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
And fat, and they got beards. They look like Linux programmers. That's like it's
how did Star Trek devolve into this? Because it was never supposed to be this. It was never supposed to be a parody of like 21st century memes and stereotypes and stuff. It was never supposed to be that. It was supposed to be something more thoughtful, but like it always has to.
Hollywood is there. That's where Hollywood is.
Yeah. I mean, is that just the mentality now? It's like we've got to push this stuff, even if people don't like it. We're just going to keep doing it.
I don't want to get into it too deeply, but there is a coterie of individuals who I encountered from 1990s. These are mean people, and they'll build fast friendships, and then when something goes wrong, they'll break up very hard and never see each other again. And I won't mention this group, and they're running things. And it's the Hollywood is no longer filled with people who want to have fun. It's just people who have an agenda. And Star Trek is just another agenda.
Do you think Picard, like the season 3 of Picard, was just was a little
complete
outlier?
Accident. Yep.
Yeah. Because it kind of felt like it, we'll just turn this failing series over to someone else, and like, lo and behold, he made something really good out of it. But like, yeah, why would we take notice of that? Let's just get back to what we do.
It's Kurtzman and crew took some Ferrari, ditched it into a tree, it exploded into fire, and then they just threw the keys over to Terry. Here, the car is yours. You drive it.
And he's like,
It's
he
in
somehow
slow-mo.
temporarily built like a really good car out of it.
Yeah.
Just for a little while.
That's right. And he dragged it out of the ditch, and he fixed it, and got the guys working on it, and and everyone was shocked that he got it running. So,
I mean, we,
yeah.
we were talking earlier about just before you guys came on, we started talking about Indy, but MauLer and I were talking about Velma and getting renewed for a second season. And we, as a former network executive yourself, like, you understand the supply and demand aspect of this. Like, what would be the justification for greenlighting a season 2 of something like that? The most
So
derided show of
cartoons,
all time.
it's generally not a second season. Cartoons generally are bought in multiple seasons because they cost so much to create, and they will reuse sequences that they've now rendered. Like they'll just reuse parts of that animation for the second season and repackage it. So it's almost a cost saving thing. They almost have no choice but to do an animation minimum of 2 seasons.
Right. Okay.
I mean, a lot of people said that it looked like the second season was happening no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
and voice acting is cheap.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
that's generally the reason.
I mean, we were sort of discussing like how the atmosphere on set must be, or like in the sound booths and stuff. Like we're making season 2 of one of the most hated shows of all time. It's not going to be good for morale.
Well, there's a dynamic where the actors fall into believing in the veracity of the product they're in. I've seen it a bunch of times. It's happened to me, where you really have no choice. You can't be cynical, or you can't do your job. So you end up believing in it, and then at the end of it, you're believing in it, and you think it's good. I've seen this a dozen times. It's just, you can't work any other way.
I mean, it kind of explains things like Rings of Power, where
yes,
any rational person would look at it and just say, "This is terrible," But like the cast are out there singing its praises. They're loving this. It's just they bought into it 100%.
Yep. It's they've drunk the Kool-Aid. It's the only way they could do it, and they really do believe in how good it is. They genuinely do.
Poor guys.
It's when you've edited a film and you've been in the editing room for months, you think it's great.
It's like,
it.
You've seen like 4 months.
Well, it depends on who it is.
I mean, I films that I've made, I go through a noting process. I mean, I get a lot of notes, and I'll do rounds of notes and kind of save it for filmmaker friends of mine who are really nitpicky. So, I mean, look, there's a documentary that I've been working on for a decade. For the last 2 years, I've been getting notes. My goal is always to make the next cut 1% better. I'm just trying to get to a 7 out of 10 as a movie. If I get to 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, that's, better than most. So, I don't know. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I think those are for filmmakers that enjoy the smell of their own farts or are in a bubble. And I just think that Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm is a bubble. It's a bubble of people that think what they're doing is very good and think if the audience doesn't like it, they're, ists and phobes. And that strategy has been revealed to be BS. It's total BS. And I think that this is, and look, I haven't seen Crystal Skull in a long time. So I only saw it once when it came out in theaters, have not seen it since in any form, and I don't own that movie. But people are saying this movie is slightly better. I don't know. I just remember not liking that movie and thinking, well, there are 3 Indiana Jones movies that are really good. We've got those 3. Let's just leave it at that. So I can't really compare, but there's definitely a bubble that's been created at Lucasfilm. And when you look at like the experiences of people like Gina Carano and how she was ousted unceremoniously and probably against the wishes of Jon Favreau, like there's a culture there that is not resulting in the best stuff. And I always look at like, could the people doing these things creatively, could they make something original that would be interesting? I'm fairly certain the answer to that is no, but they are going to ride the agenda on the IP. And I think that audiences just are not down with it. And then there are people in the audience that are not going to notice it. They're just going to say, oh, that Helena girl was kind of lame and unlikable. I mean, we notice a bit, maybe, there's more to it, but audiences are just turned off. I mean, it's tracking to not do well.
This is what I was going to ask about, actually, because it's
Yeah.
tracking for a $60 million opening weekend, which is abysmally bad for an Indiana Jones movie. But like, looking at the potential fallout from this, like it's apparently got a budget of in the region of 300 million. So this was an expensive movie to make, especially with all the reshoots they've done. I don't know how much of a patchwork quilt of a film it is, but yeah, this is going to have to make a lot of money in order to break even, and it's on track to not do that. It's going to lose money, most probably. Now, what would the fallout of that be, potentially, at Lucasfilm? Because,
I don't know.
Man, they have had nothing but failure in the past several years.
Was there any fallout with the Star Wars sequel trilogy where the third film in the series makes half the money as the first film in that series?
I think the fallout was the fact that they didn't make any more movies. They were relegated to the realms of television, cheap stuff that went out into a streaming network, and so that's, I don't know, but it feels like if this sequel trilogy had been a massive success, we would still be getting Star Wars movies probably like multiple times per year.
Yeah, I don't know that there'll be any fallout. I think there's a profound lack of leadership. I think when someone fails as miserably, I don't know how The Force Awakens got made without having a scene with Han, Luke, and Leia reunited. They should, and if you look at the season 3 of Picard, they took these much older actors. I think that is it LeVar Burton is the youngest at 69 years old.
Yep.
McFadden is 74, and everybody looked pretty good. I mean, Worf was really badass in that, with his look, and Riker, like, I mean, why couldn't they have just taken, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and Mark Hamill, and had a sort of final outing, and then handing the baton to, younger characters to take over?
But that's not what Kathleen wanted. Kathleen wanted Rey front and center, wanted to bury the old crew as quickly as possible and destroy Luke. I mean, that was her plan.
How's that working out for you, Kathy?
Exactly.
I don't think she cares. She lives in a bubble.
Yeah. There's no one around her that's ever saying she's done a bad job. Yep. I think some of the people I know,
bad girl.
The people I know that in Hollywood that are smarter are the ones that they want feedback. They would never have those conversations publicly. It would all be sweetness and light. It was great to work with so-and-so, whatever. But behind the scenes, I would argue that people in Hollywood are even more critical. I mean, I'm sure, Drinker, this has happened to you, and it happens to me, where people reach out in the industry saying, I like what you're doing. I like what you're saying. Keep saying it, but I can't say that I like you or watch you or anything, but good job. Okay. And then they go off and, they, parrot the, whatever the company line is, but I'm certain that's happened to you.
Well,
so,
the creative
and multiple times.
Yes. The creative people are mutually critical. When I was chumming around with Burt Metcalf in LA, who was the main director for MASH, was a Saskatoon boy, so I was trying to get all the expatriate Canadians up to Canada to teach us our shit that we didn't know how to do anymore. And Bert took me to the the Directors Guild Theater. They have their own theater.
Yeah.
So Steven Spielberg came down and just threw a rough cut in of, I can't remember which movie, and a bunch of directors, Friedkin, and we're sitting around and okay, and here's our notes to Steve. We hated this, loved this, and no one was mad at anyone because it was people at the top of their game and they respected each other. But no one talks about the Directors Guild Theater and the movies that they show there to each other.
Yeah, I've been there many times for events. It's awesome.
Very inner sanctum.
Yeah, it's great. I did interview. This is in the 90s. I interviewed for a job at the DGA, being the editor of their internal magazine, which is called Action. American Cinematographer. The ASC as an American Cinematographer magazine. So I interviewed for the job, and I completely screwed up the interview because they asked me my favorite filmmakers, and I named all people like Quentin Tarantino, George Lucas, Spike Lee, all filmmakers that were not guild members. They're all indie filmmakers as my favorite filmmakers. And I blew the interview. I didn't get that job, but probably for the best. Yeah. Yeah. So, but that theater is amazing. I saw RRR there back in December and got to meet SS Rajamouli. I'm so happy, Drinker, that you discovered that movie.
Oh, but I'm happy that I discovered it too. It's changed my view of cinema. You know, it's just great fun. I love films like that. Because as silly and over the top and melodramatic as it is at times, like you can tell that they're really bought into it. Like the actors, the directors, and stuff, and it just really shines through in everything. And there's something to be said for earnestness in filmmaking. As much as what you show on screen, it could be cliched, it could be kind of predictable or whatever, or over the top. But if there's an earnestness to what you're doing, if you believe in it and you're really trying to do the best you can with it, then I think you can't help but warm to that. And Triple R was a great example of that. I enjoyed that movie.
Rip Ray Stevenson.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, right enough. Yeah. God, that guy's been in everything, eh? Just like little roles here and there.
Yeah. It's always fun to see him.
You gave a great review to the Covenant, Drinker, and wasn't that a movie of similar? I mean, it's a more serious movie than RRR, but it was a lively.
It didn't have the over the top, Bollywood style of it. But it was a Guy Ritchie movie, and so there was a bit of stylistic, license taken with it. But it's very much like an Afghan war movie. But it's really a story of friendship and redemption and the debt that you owe someone who helps you out. So yeah, I very much enjoyed The Covenant. I don't think it's had any coverage really. It just seems to have come and gone. But I think it's a good movie. It's worth watching. I liked it.
Yeah, that's one I haven't had an opportunity to check out, but I'll definitely will.
If only they were non-binary.
Right.
Yeah. It did make me wonder as well, though, because I mentioned this in my review, that movies around the Afghan war, I just think you're not going to see them anymore. With how that ended and the fallout from it, people just want to move past it and forget about it. It would be there weren't really movies about Vietnam in the immediate aftermath of it. It wasn't until later that you got this sort of retrospective ones that were more more brutal about the effect it had on people, the soldiers and stuff there. But movies like this that are a bit more straight up and happy ending kind of jobs, you're not going to see that, I don't think, for quite some time. So I think that's maybe why it didn't do very well.
I'm surprised Hollywood producers didn't go to the U.S. government and demand to have more wars with happy endings. You're killing me. You're killing me. We need a war with a happy ending. What are you doing to us?
Can we just win one? Can we just win and then go home?
Because I got money floating on these wars here, and you're killing me. You're killing me.
Yeah, it's we don't want these wishy-washy wars that just kind of peter out and then everyone just goes home disappointed.
Yes, that's right. That's actually not a bad sketch there, Critical.
Yeah.
That's not a bad piece. We're taking over the war because we're tired of your endings.
Yeah, I'm going to fix war. Make it more fun.
Make it
war.
More fun.
It's fantastic. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to bring up was, I know Chris and MauLer, I don't know if you have, Paul, but The Flash is out.
Hello.
Oh,
MauLer is a thing, which is on this stream. The Critical Doggo's here as well. You can probably see him over there.
Yeah, I see him there.
He's
Wonderful.
He's not doing much. He's playing it. Cards close to his chest right now. But yeah, most of you guys have seen The Flash, and I guess I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts on it.
Who wants to go first?
I'm just
MauLer, you go. MauLer, you go.
I haven't seen it either, so I'm just gonna let them go on this one.
Yeah.
Absolute disaster, complete mess. There's a metaphor in the film to describe time travel as a big spaghetti bowl, and that just feels like more of a metaphor for the whole movie. The writing, the direction, the goals they had, it's all over the place. There's a bazillion different ideas, a big melting pot of nonsense. Though there was one or two jokes that I actually like smiled at, and it was it was always going to be fun to see Keaton back because I love '89 and Returns. So yeah, just seeing him do things, I was just like, there you go. But I try to keep my heart, securely locked in a box instead of rewarding them for literally just like there's a moment right where he's first introduced in the sort of Batman action type scene, and the theme's playing and the ship's going, he's doing all this, and I was just sitting there thinking like, you didn't make any of this. You've just stolen all of it from a better time. Which, there's a fine line between that, and I've seen people comparing this with No Way Home. And it's like, how come this is getting shit on No Way Home isn't? It's like, I don't know, man. It's probably because No Way Home better incorporated and respected those characters and even added to their stories from when we last saw them. While this, one of the most key jangling experiences I think I've ever seen by the time you get to the end of it. Shameless. And I don't think people are going to be happy with this. The more time goes on, I think that this is going to be known as a really tacky film that tried to appeal to nostalgic shit by like an attempt to do it and hide the absolute disastrous corpse that the film truly is writing wise. So yeah, I loved it.
Great.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't mention Ezra Miller in this. I mean, he's like, for me, he was the biggest flaw in the movie. I mean, set the writing aside for a moment. He's a side character. He was cast when Zack Snyder was casting the Justice League. So you've got three mega Chad, Giga Chad, whatever you want to call it, for Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Jason Momoa. Not everybody can be the square-jawed, muscle-bound 6'6" hero. You need balance, right? So they cast Ezra Miller, and he was fine as a sidekick with little screen time, right? He wasn't the focus. You make him the focus of the whole movie, and that's where it breaks down. And not just you have one Ezra Miller, you have two Ezra Millers. So one's 25 years old, I guess, in the timeline, and the other one's about 18. So younger and even more annoying, and you have them for the first hour of the movie. That is the big problem. For me, though, and I'm sorry, I love '89 Michael Keaton Batman. It was, as a lifelong Batman fan, I used to watch the Adam West series as a kid, the animated show, Super Friends, on, and just hoped one day there would be a serious Batman. When Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns came out in the mid 80s, I read every issue. It was like, as they were coming out, it was insane, but they'd never done a serious Batman until 1989. So I got sucked in when it came to his story. And ultimately, if you think about what happens at the end of the movie, it's tragic. It's tragic. He ended up in a world he couldn't save. And so I actually enjoyed, in a guilty, and guilty pleasure way, fine. I'm sure MauLer will criticize me for this, but it's my personal I like the parts with Batman. I like when it became a Batman movie.
I literally just said, like, I'm trying to, those are the parts that I really like too. I really liked him, but I'm trying to remain as dare I use the word objective as possible, instead of just being like, there he is. I'm trying to be like, okay, why is he there? What is he doing? What is this world? What, is it all in line? Is it respectful? Is it fair? Or am I just sitting there enjoying the music and the costume and the vehicles and stuff?
And in a way, it redeems the choice that Kal-El made in Man of Steel that he was criticized for, which is killing Zod. Because if you don't kill Zod, your world will end. Like that. And it didn't make what's her name, Kara, the Supergirl, it didn't make her a girl boss. She was, she was a formidable hero, but was ultimately she wasn't Superman. She was not Superman. And I like those aspects. I like that idea. I like that concept. I wish they took it more seriously instead of Goofy throwing burritos into microwaves or eating, like that opening sequence. I did like Ben Affleck, having the colors of the Frank Miller Dark Knight. That was very obviously Frank Miller Dark Knight. And I like there's been an effort to desexualize women in movies just overall. So seeing Gal Gadot's ass briefly under her miniskirt,
I've heard about this.
yeah, yeah. Sounds like what's going on, Chato? Is there a dead body that's being?
No, it's my bull terrier who's doing a bully freak around the house.
Oh well, there you are.
You just get yourself a greyhound, man. They don't move for about 24 hours a day.
Yeah, but yeah. So like, it was a weird mix. It's also this movie's come out like so late. It should have been released years ago. And the CG, I thought the CG when I saw it was temp. My understanding is it's the final because the CG is bad. Like it's like
that's what I've heard.
W bad. Like
it's bad.
It's bad. It's embarrassing. Like I don't know. My feeling is I think Gary said this in his review. It seems like they cut him off and said we're not spending any more money. Like those could have been temps or first drafts, and they just said just use it. Who cares? You know, and a lot of it is the solve for bad CG is just make it darker so you can barely see it, and they did that. You know, that's why in the first Godzilla, that movie, I mean the one by what's the name, Garth? Oh my God, I'm spacing on the name, but just like it rained the whole movie because they couldn't afford good CG. You know?
I mean, I've heard as well, like it's been reshot multiple times. They didn't know what they wanted to do with it, and so like it's a bit of a patchwork quilt of a movie. Is that the case?
Yes.
Or
it feels that way. It feels like that too.
But we're getting so many of these. How do you spend $200 million? Well, let's say that's your starting budget, and not get the writing in this thing storyboarded. I mean, anything I've done, I've storyboarded to within an inch of its life, and everyone knew, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what it looks like. I mean, I don't get it. Like,
is it studio interference? Maybe like halfway through, like they just step in and start like mandating that stuff has to be done.
Yep, I've seen it. I mean, this is from the old Warner Brothers regime too. And I've seen execs just destroy, mostly television shows. That's just hilarious. I mean, sad and hilarious. Yeah, I would say so. I would say the main people working on it probably did storyboarded it out and figured out how this was going to work, but someone threw a bomb in it.
Because I think and probably DC particularly has suffered from this, right? Is this constant stumbling from one failure to another without understanding what the problem is. Like they obviously realize that something is not working about their movies, and so they're trying to fix it on the fly because they've got multiple projects in production. You know, it's an extended universe. There's always more movies in the pipeline, and so they're always like trying to step in and retroactively like improve films that are already on the go. In light of what happened with the previous one, but they don't really understand what the problem is, and so you just end up with these films that are just creative, like Frankenstein's monsters of movies. Like a bunch of different people changing stuff.
It has more to do with the fact that they see what someone else is doing, and they want it to be like that. So I'll give you an example. Man from U.N.C.L.E., which all you guys are probably too young to have seen, in the 60s, started off first season a really good spy drama. Second season, Batman became hugely successful. Batman came out, the ABC Batman. And then NBC went, you're turning this camp. So they went from really good James Bond level spy stuff with cool gadgets to Batman camp in one season because the executives wanted it to be that way. They're always chasing someone else's dream. And that's what I sniff. That's what I smell on these properties.
I think Justice League was the prime example of that, where it was straight up, we want to have an Avengers kind of movie for
there
DCU.
You go. Yep.
Okay, just give us the guy who did the Avengers then. Like, halfway through making the film. And look what we got.
I like how DC just mop up Marvel's sloppy seconds sort of things that like with James Gunn now as well.
I mean,
that could be it.
It's a fascinating case study in how to like just mismanage and essentially take a brand that should give you every advantage under the sun, like way more recognizable characters, in terms of like superheroes, like everyone who, even people who've never read a comic book in their lives, know who Batman is. Everyone knows who Superman is. You know, like putting them into a franchise, like you should have just box office gold as long as you've got like a basic grasp of storytelling. But their desire to constantly play catch up with Marvel, to have their own cinematic universe like ready made without having any prep work or anything done. They essentially like got in their own way and tripped over their own feet and just like absolutely destroyed this amazing opportunity that they had. And it's man, it's such a shame because they even had great actors involved playing these characters. Like Henry Cavill was a fantastic Superman. Ben Affleck was a fantastic Batman. Gal Gadot was a fantastic Wonder Woman.
Yeah, sure.
They, for the most part, they were just lumbered with terrible movies.
Yeah.
She looked great as Wonder Woman. I'll give you that.
She did look great, yeah. Acting.
The first Wonder Woman was good.
Yeah.
The first Wonder Woman was a fine movie, I think. I think that was a pretty entertaining film. And when she came out of the foxhole and went after the Germans in slow-mo, that was a total, Snyder moment. That was pretty fantastic. The audience was cheering.
Chris, I was going to ask you, especially since I got you, what about the whole, like, why did Batman have to be convinced to save the world?
Yeah, they don't really make it because his world is Gotham, right? And he basically solved crime in Gotham. It's fixed, so to speak, right? And I don't know. It's because Joseph Campbell refusal of the call, right? They're following a format. I don't know.
You gotta you gotta do you gotta like be like, Zod is coming to destroy the whole world. He's like, nah, I'll pass. That's what he says. It's like, no.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know because they feel like it's one of those boxes they have to check. Like,
well, like, so I don't know why they wouldn't write it so that he's like, I'm out of commission, like I'm retired, I'm terrible. I'll make the situation worse than it is if I, something like that. But instead, he just goes like, nah, and that's it.
I mean, they should have had Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie, and he was retired, and they were married. Maybe there's another. They could have. I mean,
could. I don't know if I'd
retire with Michelle Pfeiffer.
I mean, but I don't know. I don't know if I need that level of fan service from like Returns. Right. I kind of like that they don't end up, with an easy ending in that film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed him in it, but I was baffled by that. And yeah, I don't know. But it was interesting hearing you compliment sort of Is it Supergirl or Superwoman? What is the Supergirl, right? Yeah. Supergirl. So, I actually think I was surprised with how little she's in the film.
Yeah. That's I think why she was good. You know what I mean? She's no Helena. Let me just say oh my God, I can't wait to hear you guys talk about Indiana Jones. I feel it's just yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Like based on everything you've described, like
looking forward to it.
It's going to be open season on that movie. And the thing is, it's like everything I predicted, like right from the beginning.
So, do you know what a really weird and specific compliment I've got for The Flash that I don't think I have? I'm going to have to rely on chat and you guys' brains and histories for this one. I don't know if I've ever seen this in a film before. In the middle of a fight, Batman's fucking people up, punching, kicking, that sort of thing, and Ezra Miller tries to run past him, and he like switches turns, he's fighting, and then he punches Ezra almost by accident. Doesn't give a shit, carries on. Ezra falls to the ground like, jeez. And I was like, that probably would happen. And it's kind of nice to see it. Like, Batman's doing his shit, you get in the way, and he punches you fucking hard in the face, and you just, like, go down to the ground. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't be trying to cross over through him and stuff. I was like, what if I see that in a film, like, ever? I was like,
that's like something out of The Nice Guys or something. Like, when he throws the gun to him and it just goes through the window because he doesn't catch it.
That's the thing, though. It's not played for laughs. At least I didn't get the impression. It's almost played like idiot, don't cross in front of Batman while he's beating people up. I was just like, yeah, that's fair. Like, yeah, be careful. Yeah, I know it's happened before. I'm just trying to. I couldn't quite remember the last time I'd seen it. And I just found that fun. It's like a dynamic element of the fight. And every Batman fight, Affleck ones and Keaton ones, that was the most interested I was in the film. Probably the best stuff in the film.
Yeah, I am going to go see The Flash, even against my better judgment. Indy, I'm not so certain.
I mean, I think I have to go and see Indy just out of sheer morbid curiosity, but this is car crash TV at this point. Like, how bad can it be? Probably very bad.
I think we're all interested in your take, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess, like, it's just... it would have been amazing to go and see it and like, wow, it turned out to be some amazing experience. Like, none of us could have predicted how good this was going to be. It's like we're watching Raiders of the Lost Ark all over again. But no.
That's my plan is to rewatch the first. I apologize. The 3 films and then the other thing that got made. I'm probably gonna watch all 4. Like, so, just to get a refresh, because Raiders of the Lost Ark obviously is a fucking legendary movie. Temple of Doom, I like it a lot. I'm totally like, a lot of people don't, whatever, or think it's the worst one, or whatever, but it's fine. Last Crusade is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just glorious. And then to go to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and then Dial of Destiny, it's just like this journey that's like, can we stop after the third? And it's like, no.
I mean, this has got to be the end now. It's got to be, because like Harrison Ford's not going to do any more. Like, clearly this franchise isn't going to get supported by another actor. Like, nobody's going to show up to see a Phoebe Waller-Bridge led Indiana Jones movie. I mean, the clue is in the name. It's got to have Indiana Jones in it. And so, I don't know, man. It just feels like a waste of time. Like, it's just this final little, like, artifact from a different era that's getting dragged out for one last little adventure. And... man, I'm sad that this is how it ends. This is the last view that people are going to have of Indiana Jones, of like, a sad old man who wanted to die and got beaten up by a woman and then dragged back to his apartment in New York so that he could be forced to live out the remainder of his miserable life.
You don't know, Drinker. 15 years from now, they might make another one. Fuck it.
Well, here's the problem with that, and I've mentioned this with some of the other properties like Lasseter's properties, is that when their first movies came out, like Toy Story and Indiana Jones and even Star Wars, the societal memory of the serials and the Flash Gordons that these movies were based on was still part of our zeitgeist. So these were refreshing updates to things that were still in many people's memories. Now, Indiana Jones, which is, for all intents and purposes, a derivation of these old 1940s serials, no one knows the reference. They only know Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know that. This is a problem with modern writers in general, because what they're doing is they're copying, and this is what was interesting.
Right.
I'm sitting here going, like, I fully expected to not enjoy everything in Indiana Jones, but I did. That first 20 minutes kind of was entertaining, but there was something that felt off about it. It's like a copy. It's like AI, even though I know AI was not used in the writing or making of the Dial of Destiny, it felt like AI did it because it hit all the beats too well. It was too much akin to what we liked about the original 3 Raiders movies. We used to call them Raiders of the Raiders. It's Indiana Jones movies, whatever. But it felt too much like it. So I don't know. This is the problem, is that the new crop of writers is only influenced by the last few Star Wars movies, not what influenced Star Wars to begin with. George
Correct.
Lucas,
that's my point.
Right. Influenced by Flash Gordon. I watched those serials growing up.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers with Buster Crabbe. Marvel Comics, Doctor Doom was certainly an influence on Darth Vader as a character. Samurai films. So all those influences, the history, this is what kills me about even modern commentators on pop culture, is they don't have the sense of film history. I saw a very moronic video essay by someone, I'm not going to say who, that
it was me. Okay, admit it was me.
So just a complete, stupid, uninformed, idiotic take. I put it in the private chat.
I'll go have a look at this.
On film, and I was so angered.
I know it is.
I was so angered by this take because he was basically just parroting the things that people say about diversity in the world and whatever. And I'm like, you have no sense of film history. You only watch mainstream crap.
Right.
Where I grew up watching exploitation films, old monster movies, blaxploitation movies. I had a diverse taste in movies that was all over the place. Not only that, just comic books and whatever, but this moron did this video essay like, I'm an expert and here's what I'm telling you and here's the problem and this is where you're wrong and you're an istinophobe. And I just sat there going, you're an idiot. You don't know. I don't know if I should do a response video. I just don't want to give it any oxygen, but it pissed me off. But these are people working in Hollywood where I want to be able to talk to someone and they have a sense of like where these things came from or the history of film. It's so critical to be able to put that into context, because if you see something like The Flash and you think it's the greatest movie you've ever seen, and that may in fact be your true opinion, I would just say you haven't seen a lot of movies.
Right.
That's how I would respond.
Well,
So-
I mean, Paul, you made a really good video just recently in this same vein of like, when you talk about nerd culture and geeks and stuff, it's not just like having the direct experience of, say, Star Wars. When it comes to write for this thing, it's like having all the stuff that comes around that. Being able to have a conversation with someone about, well, I'm into Star Wars, but like I'm also like aware of Star Trek, or I like science, or I like Buck Rogers, or I like Space 1999, like all these other things that are all just intermesh into like this cultural like melting pot of like nerd culture. Like they don't have that, and so they're not real. They're not fans of all this stuff. They're just people who dip in and out of it to do this specific thing, and it shows in what they produce.
Well, I think
and it's a really interesting point.
you
It
follow that line
dawned
of
on me
thought-
that, I'll talk to someone who's into RC airplanes
Yeah.
and Star Wars. These are all concomitant interests that I
Well, it's the
realize.
mindset of the person, isn't it? Like if they're
Yep.
into Star Wars, they're probably going to be interested in X, Y, and Z as well, because
Yep.
like they just like all weave together ultimately.
Yeah, and then you talk, when you see the interviews of the showrunner of Star Trek Discovery, she talks about the lesbian show she did on Netflix. She never talks about, animal husbandry or something that's interesting. I mean, that's not really a geeky pursuit, but you know what I mean. I mean, she doesn't. She doesn't talk about old Buck Rogers. She doesn't talk about all these other D&D game, playing card games and things like that. I'm not hearing any of the modern, the people who are leading the modern charge for all these modern properties talking about these ancillary interests that geeks and nerds are interested in. And it struck me, wait a second, that's why their stuff is crap.
Yeah.
It could
They
be
don't
model
know-
trains. You know how passionate people are about model trains?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like what they care about is they might care about feminism or like
Right.
LGBT stuff or whatever. Like that, and like Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever franchise they're writing for just becomes a vehicle for that. Willow,
Yes,
The Witcher, like,
exactly.
whatever it might be. And so they've no interest in anything like surrounds it. They just want to talk about their particular activism thing that they're into. And
Yep.
that's
Well,
all.
It's interesting because when we talk about a lot of stuff in film history, we're for the most part only talking about the things that have survived. We, acting like only movies from the past were good. That's not true. There's so much stuff from the past that is god awful. I just think that movies suck today. Movies suck today for a different reason than they sucked in the 80s or the 60s or whatever. Just we're predominantly looking at things that have survived through the ages because they are of quality and they're worth preserving. There's a weird random thing to bring up. There's a Canadian science fiction show that was made by someone named Cordwainer Bird, which I guarantee you don't know who it is, but it starred Keir Delay. Have you ever heard of this show?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Star Lost.
Every
I
episode.
saw it.
Yes, I have seen it as well. I actually have a DVD of it. The Star Lost starred Keir Delay, is a fascinating show. Cordwainer Bird is actually a pseudonym for, it was used by Harlan Ellison
Harlan Ellison wrote.
Harlan
the
Ellison
episodes.
did that show. There's you can look up stuff about it. I mean, it's not great. I mean, like the special effects are like Sid Marty Krofft level,
Yeah.
early 70s sci-fi. Having said that, it has guest spots by people like Walter Koenig. And what's interesting is the writing. The thing that I would defend about that show is the writing was fantastic. It was a lot of Star Trek writers. So to look at something that, yeah, it was not a success in the long run. Having said that, the writing is so exceptional, and it shows you how a show can be interesting, and the good writing can basically transcend the bad special effects or limited whatever. But Harlan Ellison took his name off the project, and I always use Cordwainer Bird whenever I get an extra badge at a Comic-Con. I'll just get an extra one with that name for no reason. Just for fun.
I had friends work on that show.
Oh,
and
wow.
The problem was that at that time they were using cutting edge chroma key.
Yes.
So, and chroma key was a lousy technology, and
Yes.
they had a really difficult time making it work. So, I really felt badly for them because the show was earnest. They really tried their best, and chroma key was just not up to the task, and it looks like crap.
It's interesting because the same stuff was used for shows like Dr. Shrinker, Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, Land of the Lost. These are all terrible children's shows that I grew up with by Sid and Marty Krofft. But that show, I really enjoyed it. I mean, they only did one season, 12 episodes.
Yep.
And then that was it. So they never completed the story, but it was a fantastic story that really influenced Red Dwarf. I'm sure Drinker, MauLer, you Red Dwarf fans, anyone?
Love a bit of Red Dwarf.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things I missed out on. I feel bad on.
Smeg
Oh,
off.
you're kidding. I had
Oh,
all
that's
the
great.
episodes on VHS cassette.
I'm gonna
Anyway,
catch up with that one for sure one day.
And
I've
it's
got
so-
such
well,
fond memories of Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf was
Genuinely
great.
got me through some difficult times. So
Paul
good
Stanley,
show.
who produced it, I knew him. I did some stuff with him.
it's such a good show, Red Dwarf. But Red Dwarf, I believe, had was inspired by the Star Lost. Unfortunately, I got to run now.
Yes.
But
No, Chris, I want to say thank you for joining us this evening. Your honor. I
Yes.
hope the trial of Star Wars progresses well. For everyone who's watching, Chris is doing an amazing thing over on Film Threat where he puts Star Wars on trial, and each week they're coming up with a different charge that Star Wars has to answer for. So if you get the opportunity, please subscribe to Film Threat because they could bring in a different guest every week, and it's done as a proper
That's great.
courtroom.
I'm
And they
sure
also do
Disney's
really good
watching it.
reviews of just movies and stuff as well. So
well,
busy
thank you
channel.
for that, Drinker. That means a lot. We've got some good guests coming up on the trial, leading towards our closing arguments. So thanks again. I will see you another time. Peace out,
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
Hey, dude.
Later.
Thanks, man. Should we do a few super chats since we're all here?
Sure.
I'll see what
Completely
see
on
what's-
board with that.
I got to
Super.
remember the thing that I wanted to mention.
Oh, okay. Should we
Actually,
do that
I
now or
did want to
later?
mention something, so I'll do mine, and then hopefully you remember yours, and then we'll do super chats.
Okay, yeah.
I was actually going to
Mention
say
your thing.
on the topic of, they don't know the ingredients, so to speak, of how to make the projects they have now inherited. That's part of the whole they have no idea. The speech from Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park, but applied to film basically and all of IP. I was thinking as well, there has to be some level of reasonableness that we can't expect everybody to know the ingredients of everything. And then, you guys were referencing what went into Star Wars. Do we know what went into those things that went into Star Wars, that went into, and so on and so on and so on?
Yeah.
It's like, no, there is a limit, but it's like, so what does that tell us? And it's like, well, I think what it tells us is that, the reality is they shouldn't be making the food, so to speak, if they don't know the ingredients. They should instead be making their new courses with ingredients like Star Wars. Or if someone said I'm drawing from Indiana Jones and Back to the Future and blah blah blah, because that's their generation, their stuff, and it'll live and die on its own, instead of having to make new versions of the thing without knowing the ingredients of it, which is why they fall
But
apart.
it's also
usually.
a chef issue, and I hate to say this.
Oh,
this
absolutely,
may get you
yeah.
into trouble, but a lot of this IP was created by geeky straight men, and they are pariahs in the system.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
there's
That's
not
the
too.
way it was.
Yeah. No, you're right, and like, there's not too many like amazing like fantasy shows or sci-fi shows or books or whatever you might want to, whatever your medium is, that are made by women, and it's
You've got
unfortunate. Like,
Twilight, and you've got obviously J.K. Rowling.
yeah, but like, well, with Twilight, it's kind of like just I don't know what you describe it. It's a young adult like romantic fiction with
Yep.
vampire backdrop.
Hmm.
Like the Harry Potter stuff is like a slightly special case. That is something a bit different from the rest of it. But generally
gonna
speaking,
say-
yeah, they don't make their mark in the same way.
Remember,
Well, I did a
it was-
video where I said that J.K. Rowling writes like a man.
I was gonna say the Force Awakens and TLJ. That was some white geeky men that made that. Like they're the writers, at least behind the. those
Yeah,
two.
they're not
I
all
know that
good, that's for sure.
JJ and
How
Ryan.
geeky-
I'm pretty sure. Well, I
How geeky
wouldn't.
were they?
I
I mean,
don't know.
I don't know how geeky Ryan Johnson is. I think he's a wannabe pretentious
I'm
auteur.
sure they
but
would both claim they're very geeky. I don't know how geeky they actually are, though.
I think JJ
I'm
probably
not trying to
is,
gatekeep the
but-
geek moniker, right?
You know, whenever I watched Alien or Aliens or Terminator or the Star Wars, a huge part of my enjoyment of those things were all the background, how the engineering went, the cameras they used, the special effects, the kinds of renderers that they used for their 3D. I've never heard J.J. Abrams talk about that stuff.
No.
I mean, he's got a huge history, right? But I don't know how much of it is because this is the thing. Did he truly have passion for Star Wars, or was it more just like this is a big career opportunity? You know?
I think he was passionate. He's just not up for the task.
I think he's I've always likened him to someone like Michael Bay. Like, I feel like they're the same level of like artistic skill and temperament, but like Michael Bay kind of knows what he is, and like he knows what he's making and what his audience wants from him. Like, just pretty dumb action movies. J.J. Abrams sees himself as something far above that, but like his skill level doesn't really like correlate to it. Like, he sees himself very much as the next Steven Spielberg. Desperately wants everyone else to see him like that as well, but he doesn't have that artistic skill to get him to that point. Like, he's a guy
would agree.
pretending to be something more than he is. Not necessarily a bad person, but a person who's been probably elevated beyond his skill level in terms
I
of
wonder
the films
about-
that he makes.
I wonder about his passion for Star Wars when he made Rise of Skywalker. I wonder.
Oh, that was fucking non-existent.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well when we talk as well about like
What a horrible movie.
yeah. And it's such a like, if you want to break it down though from a creative standpoint and like the problems that they were trying to fix in that, it's a fascinating example of just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like that movie is just like trying to firefight every step of the way, trying to undo all the things that like Last Jedi did, but like with no real imagination to like back it up. So damn, yeah, he was handed a tough, a tough deal there, but he didn't play his cards well. But what I was going to say was like the point you guys were making about the chefs not really understanding their ingredients that they've been given. Like, this is an interesting example of like filmmaking being still a relatively young artistic medium. It's only a couple of lifetimes of that it's even existed. That filmmaking has even been around. Like, probably what 3-4 generations that you've got of like realistically Hollywood filmmaking, and so you had guys like George Lucas, based in the 70s, who were taking the adventure serials that inspired them as children back in the 50s, and making that into like movies, whether it was Star Wars, whether it was Indiana Jones. So it's like essentially taking elements that worked previously, combining them together into something new, and then you've got Star Wars, you've got Indiana Jones, whatever. Then you get into the realm we're in now, where you've got essentially a copy of a copy. And this is what you're getting. Like you derive something down to the point where it just loses all meaning and all artistic merit, because you're going to get eventually a copy of a copy of a copy, and it just degrades as you go. And it's partly a result. Yeah, exactly, and it's partly a result of just filmmaking still not being around for all that long in terms of like artistic endeavors of people. You know, we've had poetry for thousands of years. We've had paintings for thousands of years. We've had literature for thousands of years. We've only had movies for like 100 years or so. It's still new. But it's like it's gotten to that point now where we have derived a copy of a copy.
Because we're not sourcing the original references.
Exactly, yeah.
We can source them. They're available.
Well, if you say to J.J. Abrams, you know, for example, like, so, you know, did you enjoy the Iliad? You know, what's your thoughts on that? Like, or what's your thoughts on like the Seven Samurai? It's like he's not going to know any of this stuff. Like, it's just like, well, I'm taking what George Lucas did and I'm just going to update it a little bit and put a bit of a sheen on it. That's all I'm doing. It's not the same
what
thing.
He did to the Star Treks.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
Yeah,
completely missed the point of the Star Treks.
Yeah,
I think
it's like
I'll take Star Wars as well.
Yeah, I mean, the point I wanted to make was I really like getting together with comedians, and everybody knows, for instance, the Ealing Studios movies, and we start talking about them. That's a really joyous moment for me. But who now knows Ealing's, greatest moments? And those are fantastic films. Those should all be viewed by people who want to do comedy.
And are we just moving further and further away from that?
Yes.
That creative like wellspring, I suppose. To where does it end? What's the end point of this? Does it eventually get to the point where the whole model just collapses and they have to start again? It's like, right, okay, we have to go back and find new ideas, and
we do need new IPs. We need new young people that will create new IPs that we've never thought of. I'm not relying on the old guard to resurrect this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, look at Lucasfilm. They have killed Star Wars. They seem to have killed Indiana Jones, based on what Chris was saying. They killed Willow. So, like, they've taken all the IPs that were created by someone else, and they've tried to resurrect them, failed miserably, and so they've run out of ideas now. They are a creatively bankrupt property. And this is why you get all these like rumors about like Disney's tempted to sell them off. And as ludicrous as it sounds, damn, like there seems to be an element of logic to it, because if I was looking at Lucasfilm now as an IP source, I would say there's nothing left to exploit, because Star Wars is no longer viable. No one's interested in seeing the TV shows or the movies. Indiana Jones is probably going to flop. So if that flops, that's gone. Willow was dead in the water. There's nothing else to exploit in this studio, so what's the point in it even existing?
And if you know Lucas's history, up until the point where they were purchased, they were continually also making games. They were developing other IPs. They were not just standing still doing movies. It was a creative organization. When Disney bought it, you can't keep treading water. You got to keep making stuff, new things, trying new stuff. And then, I mean, what has Disney done with Pixar? What has Disney done with Marvel? They're just using up whatever is there. And
absolutely fucking correct. It's they are like zombies. These were pillars of Disney, and they're crumbling apart. It's insane. You'd expect maybe in a normal timeline, one of them crumbles and the others make up for it. But like I've talked to normal people in my time. I assume you guys have too. Not those crazy critics online all the time, but normal people who are just like, man, I ain't seeing that new live action shit. It looks ugly as hell. Like my sister who used to like them, she even liked the Lion King remake, said that she can't watch them anymore. They're just ugly. They're horrible. They're just gross. And it's like, oh, well, are you seeing the new Marvel thing? She's like, I don't even know what ones are out anymore, or which ones are which, or what they mean. It's just like, okay. Willow?
I've theorized that the worst thing Disney did was buy Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm, because they had no idea what to do with them. I think it's killed the core of Disney.
I think you're right.
I mean, I think Marvel certainly bore fruit for a long time because it had good momentum behind it, and they seem to have
Yeah.
a plan. But like with Lucasfilm, absolutely, they had no clue what to do with that.
No.
They just knew they wanted to make a shit ton of money from it, but they
Oh, yeah,
just didn't care how it was done.
And then of course Pixar is that's almost depressing because when I was growing up, Pixar were very much associated with top-notch quality.
Yep.
Nowadays
Now
they're
it's
associated with
depressing.
now people are like, what's DreamWorks doing? What are they doing next?
Yeah.
Like what's up
Yeah.
with that? Pixar? I could miss it. Like, oh.
Well, corporate culture, I mentioned this before, was it culture kills strategy? And when they bought those other companies, there was just you leave them alone. That's really what the best companies do. We bought these people for a reason, and the reason is that they have talent and they know what they're doing. We're just going to leave them alone. But that's not what Disney did. Disney-fied them. And that's what the failure is. They didn't really understand the success of the purchases that they made.
Yeah, I agree. I almost imagine Lucas, well, it was LucasArts back in the day, but just being this like pretty chill company, like staffed by a whole bunch of geeks who were super passionate about like their IP, and like they were just making things like the Star Wars expanded universe and stuff, like just things that they were really passionate about, and like they really cared about this stuff. And then you get Disney coming in, just like steamrolling them, and it's like, right, all this stuff that you've spent the last 20 years working on, it's done. Like, we're just killing all of it, and now you're going to do things our way. And, if anyone's got a problem, we're going to fire all of you and just, like, bring in our own people who are going to, like, show you the correct way to do things. And this is what you ended up with. It's a bleak world.
And the corporate culture of Pixar, which I know by third person because I know one of the very early animators for Pixar, who's not there anymore. Lovely artist. He said it was a brutal environment, but not brutal in insulting or bad way. It's the best ideas came to the surface, and it wasn't always easy on creative people how it got to that point, but that's why it was so good. And there was just no way Disney could stand the fiery crucible that was Pixar's method. There's no way.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before, the loss of like a ruthless sort of creative culling and filter in Hollywood.
Yep.
Obviously, they maintained crunch time for special effects, animators and everything. But like, just maybe it would have been nice because like they talk of all these stories of different directors getting in trouble for being too mean, saying like it was actually, I don't know if you guys, either of you have seen it, but they released a Netflix documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger recently.
Yeah,
yes, I haven't seen it. No,
because it's limited time, isn't it? So it's not going to be out for too long.
I've seen 2 of the 3 episodes, and there's just a great part, and it's been quoted a couple places, but he explains, like, I don't know if you know this, it's just a fun factoid, right? Like the I'll be back. He said to James, he's like, I'm a robot, shouldn't it be I will be back? That would be more robotic and better. And apparently James Cameron was just like, I'm the fucking writer, don't tell me what to write. And like Arnie's telling that, and then he's just like, I think we know who was right in the end. Like,
yeah,
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't imagine him delivering it like, I will be back. It sounds weird.
If you're still here,
yeah,
and if you are considering keeping the place open, then I shall return at a specific time.
I want to see the crazy alternate universe where Lance Henriksen was the Terminator, because that was James Cameron's original vision.
Yeah,
he wanted Lance Henriksen for that job. He even had him go into like production meetings like with tinfoil on his face and shit, and a big leather jacket because he had him in mind. And he met Arnold.
Any Arnie fans, I would recommend that little thing. It's just fun little stories getting told, and just goes over his life. He even talks about some of the things he fucked up on, which is kind of fun and a little bit inspiring. That's kind of the point of it. But I was thinking of another thing, like he read the script for T2 and they met, and he wasn't very happy, and James Cameron was like, oh, why? And he's like, I don't kill anyone in this script. Like, what's going on? He's like,
I'm the good guy. Why am I the good guy?
Yeah.
And then James was like, you can shoot a few people in the leg, don't worry. He was like, oh, okay. It worked out. You could say it worked out. You could say that.
Yeah. I guess I'll do it, James.
I'll do it.
I can't do my Arnie anymore. I used to do a good one. It's gone. I'm embarrassed.
Should we do a couple of super chats while we have
Yeah.
time, and while we're still sober enough to do it? Waylon Bucephus says, "Here I sit with my meat sticks and Maker's Mark, figuring that this is going to be a good time. Indy 5 or The Last Jedi? Which is more sad and depressing? Raptor 2 out." This is going to be a tough one, actually. I mean, it sounds pretty bad for Indy 5, but man, it's going to have to go some to beat The Last Jedi.
I was about to say it's going to be tough to beat out The Last Jedi, but it sounds like from what Chris has said, like one of the main things, Luke Skywalker saying, "I came to this island to die." It's like, so we've got that in Indy already. So, it's just like, hey, it's going to be good competition. We'll see. Rey versus Phoebe Waller-Bridge's, was it Helena? Was he saying his name?
Helena,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Stephen Bobo says, "Critical Drinker, have you seen the new trailer for the new Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?" Yes, I have. I'm intrigued. Color me interested. I'm one of those weird people that actually enjoyed the Final Fantasy VII remake because it's nostalgia baiting, okay? And I don't care. Let me have this thing. Let me just enjoy one thing. Yeah. Just let me enjoy one thing for sheer fan service. That's all I ask. Jeff Romadix says, "What's the new Lucasfilm property left to destroy? A Red Tails sequel?" Don't count it
Do
out.
it. Just do it. Just get it over with.
Got that and Howard the Duck. I think that's all we got.
That's all you got, Cam.
Joshua Levesque says, "What's your favorite Pixar film?" For me, it's either The Incredibles, Ratatouille, or Toy Story 2 or 3. Can you do an EFAP movies for any of them soon, MauLer?
Maybe I could see. I know Fringy would be totally on board with that. We could get some guests to just talk about the movies and stuff. But for me, I assume you guys will have picks as well. But WALL-E was my #1 Pixar movie. I fucking adored that film.
It was
still
pretty
do.
damn good. I liked Up. I really liked that one. In terms of opening montages, with no dialogue or anything, wow, you can convey an entire lifetime in the space of 5 minutes.
Up is where it all comes to an end, I think, right? Is Up the last one that's notable of quality? I can't remember.
The one with the emotional elements was good.
Inside Out.
Inside Out.
You liked Inside Out? Okay.
Yeah. I get it.
I think
one,
that's
actually.
seen as part of Pixar's sort of going downhill sort of era.
But it was okay. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was not abysmal. I mean,
never
and
saw
actually
it.
good. It was good.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to damn it with faint praise. I think there was some good stuff in it. But I mean, I have specific reasons. Toy Story 1 was the first movie my daughter ever saw, and Bug's Life was the first movie my son ever saw. So for me, those are two important movies.
By the way, Drinker and Chato as well. I'm seeing a lot of people in chat every once in a while say the Disney CFO just quit. The fact that I've seen it multiple times makes me think it might be real.
Yes, they're trying to position her as the replacement for Iger.
Christine McCarthy to exit as Disney CFO.
Wow.
This is broken within the past hour.
She was the one who engineered Chapek's departure.
Right. Okay. So, he who wields the knife never wears the crown, I guess.
Wow.
But yeah, she's stepping down for family medical leave. The company vet Kevin Lansbury is named as interim replacement.
Wow.
Yeah,
I like how we all just assume Game of Thrones shit straight away. It's like, oh yes, is that what's happening?
I assume that must be the climate at all these major corporations. Everyone's just waiting for their chance, backstabbing and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'd kind of want to get out of Disney right now. Anyway, generally speaking, it seems like a company that's
doing its best impression of the Titanic.
Pretty much, yeah. This is the band playing as it goes down. I guess.
My experience in corporate is that when things are bad, it's often way badder, way worse, way badder, way worse than they let on.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
that's often my experience.
I mean, I guess like boxing or whatever. You keep the gloves up until the end, and
and then you're down.
Yep. But there's a real fall guy mentality with a lot of these companies as well, isn't there? When something bad happens, it's like we need to pick someone and blame it on them and then fire them.
It took me a long time when I got out of the system to admit my mistakes, because if there was someone else I could blame,
Yeah.
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 You know, that was part of the game. I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Jedi Onlooker says, thoughts on Campia's race swap rant? Worth a watch.
That was
Yeah.
sad.
It was quite a rant.
Yeah.
I think I've seen clips of it. Yeah.
I mean,
saw
I'd
the
be
whole
lying
thing.
if I said I was a regular viewer of John Campia, but like I've seen that and just thought, yeah, what are you doing, man? Just stop embarrassing
It
yourself.
was the first thing I saw of him. I'd never heard of him before, and he's a Canadian.
It's funny to me because, like, you know, meeting Gary and Az and everyone, like, there's so much more awareness of someone like John Cavier. To me, he's always been the representative of person who doesn't have real opinions, just sees stuff early and then says, like, it's so good. Oh, it's so amazing. That's all I've ever known him as. Is one of those.
Thought that was Chris Stuckman's job.
I mean, he doesn't. I don't even know if he's human. Like, I'd have to check. But the thing is, yeah, it's. I'm just sitting there awkwardly, like, oh yeah, that guy. What's his opinion on race swapping? Yeah, sure, why not?
What was his goal was to like purge 40,000 subscribers from his channel. I mean, yeah, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him, I guess.
Yeah, some hardware store in the UK wants to purge their clients, I heard. Wiley or Wilkie or something.
Wilkie, what they try to do?
Oh,
I know the brand.
The owner of the company went on some kind of pink presentation by the gay channel and talked about how anyone who comes into the store thinking that men, what is it? I can't even think of it. Trans men have trans women. Anyone who comes to the store thinking trans women have penises can just leave. He doesn't want to serve them.
And this is a hardware store.
This is that hardware store,
Well, I was
apparently
gonna
a
say-
big one.
I mean, it's like the average guy who
hardware.
goes into a hardware store and seems like, what the fuck are you talking about? I
Yeah.
just want to buy some like fucking nails or something.
That's it. But he's made a big
literally-
deal out of it, and now there's a whole boycott Wilkie campaign.
Holding
Oh,
nails and
okay.
a hammer at the fucking register, and they're like, one question. You're like-
What's
you're
a
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't
Man, I
you
just
can't
need the
buy
nails,
these
okay?
nails.
It's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know about that, mate. I just do like joinery and carpentry.
That's
Like,
right. Yes, you can't buy these nails unless you can answer what is a woman.
yeah. Luke Robinson says, hey, drinker, I turned 35 yesterday, so please can I get a shout out from my favourite drunk Scotsman? Yes, you can indeed, Luke Robinson. I hope you had a fantastic birthday, man. Drink one on me, but I'll drink one for you right now. So
there you go.
I even downed the last of my pint for you. There you go, mate. Kevin O'Neill says, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, what are you drinking? What brand?
This is Peroni right now. This
Okay,
is like an,
okay.
an Italian lager.
When I was in the UK, everyone poo-pooed Tetley's.
The tea.
Tetley's.
Tetley's lager.
Oh, you mean Tenants?
Was it Tennant's?
Yeah.
can't
Tetley's is like tea.
Yeah,
No, but they have
like
a brand.
English tea.
They also made beer.
Hold on. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I was.
It might
thought-
be Tetley's beer. Oh yeah, they do actually. Yeah.
Tetley's make beer. I didn't even know that.
And the guys in the pubs were saying, "Oh, don't drink that. No, stay away from that."
The top question on Google is, does Tetley's beer still exist? Yeah. It's not something I've ever had. I don't know if it's more of an English thing, but yeah, up
Maybe.
here in Scotland, the one that's equivalent to that is Tennants, which is
Okay.
it's like the devil's piss. It's awful.
Well, we stayed at the Borders, so there must have been some
Okay.
English beer in the mix there.
There you go.
you go.
But yeah, for me tonight it's Peroni. It's been all right.
Brownie,
It's been pretty
okay,
good.
yep, good Italian beer.
Yeah. Kevin O'Neill says, Drinker, are you making any efforts to bring John Cleese onto the VIP lounge? Because if you aren't, then you should be. I mean, what can I say? John's always phoning me, wanting on, but I'm like, nah, John, stop. It's just you need to play it safe, man. But yeah, I don't think I'm quite in his league, unfortunately. But he would be a great guest to have.
He would.
Magmoor says, if you could pick one actor to have a complete nervous breakdown and live out the rest of their life thinking they're the one character that they played, which actor would it be, and which character and why? It would be Ezra Miller. I was going to say, like, well, I think he's had a fucking nervous breakdown already, so I don't know if that's applicable.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mr. Freeze.
Everybody chill.
Be making ice puns like constantly.
I can't remember the actress' name from The Last Good Night. Was that the name of the movie, The Last Good Night? And she was the murderous assassin. She was in Thelma and Louise also.
Oh, okay.
Gina Davis.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, no,
The
you mean
last-
the long kiss goodnight.
The Long Kiss Goodnight. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was the Shane Black one, yeah.
Yes, I really enjoyed that movie.
That's a good movie. No one talks about it anymore, and it's such a shame because it was good fun. And she was a great
It was
character.
great fun. Just over the top. It was great. I really enjoyed it. They don't make movies like that anymore.
No. I would quite like to see Arnold Schwarzenegger just have a breakdown and think that he was Conan the Barbarian and just go around like hacking people up with a sword.
And then return as the governor of California.
Yeah. Techno Crow says, Drinker, invite Jenna Ortega onto the VIP lounge to discuss her experiences in the movie industry. Yeah, sure, okay. Jenna, if you're watching this, you're welcome to join us.
Sometimes you miss Jenna's calls because of John Cleese jamming the line.
Yeah.
No. Just like, guys, just calm down. Stop trying to get on. Also, he says, MauLer, do an EFAP movies of Ultraviolet, also High J and Kick Rags.
Ultraviolet, was that the Mila Jovovich film?
It is, yeah. It's where they're vampires or something, I think.
I've seen it, but not
Something
for
weird.
forever. Did
It's
you guys
not
ever see
very good.
Aeon Flux? Do you remember that?
Yep, I saw that. I watched the cartoon. I was a big fan of the cartoon, and the movie was a bit disappointing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That
it
was
wasn't great.
one strange cartoon.
Yeah.
It was a strange movie as well.
But yeah, Jenna, give me a call. We'll get you on. Normie says, best Indy 5 ending, post-credit scene, he wakes up screaming, still in the desert after Last Crusade, says, Dad, I just had this nightmare about my future. Thank God it was just a dream. Fade to black.
And you have Drinker doing a Sean Connery impression, being like, it's okay. No worries. On we
Sounds
go.
like someone's getting hysterical.
That's right. and Sean is wearing his Zardoz outfit.
Yeah, the orange nappy.
I love that film.
It's unique. It's very
I
1970s.
think I was on acid when I saw it.
I think everyone who made it was on acid as well.
It's required to be on acid if you watch it.
Angry Batman says, hey Drinker and MauLer, my chat last week got missed. No big deal, but I'll try again today. My son Parker turned 2 and loves saying go away now. Could you give him a happy birthday and give him a go away now? Well, Parker, happy birthday to you, man, and go away now.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm sorry we missed your chat last time, man. Normally we catch all of them. Mr. Lucas says, favorite superhero outfit, chaps? Raimi Spider-Man for me.
I mean, I think it might be the Mark 7 Iron Man suit. It's like
Refresh our memory. Which one's that?
the sort of Avengers one, 2012. Though I'm partial to a lot of the earlier Iron Man suits. I think that one's my favorite. I love the way it like wraps around him when he's falling off the tower, and then it's just like the suit that he gets to. It feels like the one that they really were able to translate his like so to speak health bar by like scratching it, damaging it, and as time goes on throughout that battle and stuff. But Iron Man suits, they peaked like Iron Man 1 and Phase 1.
They gave us, and I think Paul, you talked about this. The Iron Man movies gave us gear porn, just all the machinery and all the technology that goes into it. It was fucking great. As a guy, you just love seeing it, and you don't get that in later movies.
Nope.
It just suddenly becomes this magical bullshit nano suit that just wraps around you.
Dude,
How
they're
does it work?
outright
Don't know.
gross
Who cares?
in the newer films. It's not even just because I understand partially the design, right? The clunky machine of the gears and plates versus the nanotech wrapping around, like almost simulating a muscle suit that goes over it. I understand why, but then you have the whole rushed and the tracking of like the CG on them. You have it with Black Panther. You have it with Ant-Man now. I don't know fucking why. You had it with Thor. the fucking tracking on the helmets in that was fucked as well. And it's just like, yeah, they're relying heavily on just never putting actors in any kind of bulk of any kind anymore, which is having a serious repercussion because, yeah, anybody who shares little images or gifs from the earlier phases, like Iron Man oftentimes looks fucking real. Like he's flying around, like the suits look amazing, and then you compare it with like the modern iterations, even in Endgame, and you're like, ugh, what happened?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Well, there's no
yeah.
weight to it anymore. Like it used
Yeah.
to be. Like yeah, it was kind of clunky. Like seeing him move around, it was like it was difficult, and he wasn't quite like used to it yet. And yeah, it made it all feel very impactful and immediate. I think
'Cause,
my favorite might be the Ben Affleck bat suit from Justice League. Like not the big like armored one or anything, but like just the general sort of like fighting suit that he wears. I think that might have been like the closest to the comic books that they ever got, and it just looks really good. Like it looks big and dangerous in it. I like it.
And I think the Iron Man's probably the one that's most viable for nanotech, but there's something about the way that they like created it, executed it. Obviously, partially to do with the special effects people getting stretched out thin. But it's so weird to see it reflected in everyone's suits now. That's such a weird development that they've relied on nanotech for everyone, and they've ignored the what that means for the world. That everyone just has nanotech. It's like
Blue Beetle is nanotech also ish.
they just keep doing it. Everyone is so lazy.
And
Beetle-
you lose the plot elements of things that require repair. They've just
Yeah.
tossed out so much of what made the comic books good, and Iron Man, to be quite honest, was possibly at the top third tier Marvel when I was reading Marvel. He was not top tier. He had some of the worst stories.
Well, I don't
And
think
yet-
anyone like generally like amongst audiences, no one really knew who Iron Man was
No.
before this. Like
I
they,
did because
they
of the
made
games.
them. Okay, but yeah, like generally, like they made him into this household name because of
Yeah.
like how well written he was, how well Robert Downey Jr. did with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I have found that lower tier characters actually can be fleshed out better. Even Ant-Man in the first movie was great, and he wasn't top tier.
That was a
And-
different time for Marvel. They could launch anything almost.
Yeah.
And then they lost it. They lost.
Yeah.
I mean, Ant-Man had no business being in the
it's
quantum
funny.
universe.
You referenced that, and if you go back to Ant-Man 1, the suit is way better. It's
Oh,
like
way better.
retro-futuristic sort of, and it's
Yep.
got the ant references. It's obviously developed from the comic. The
Yep.
clunk of the actual mask coming off and on, the design meshing with like an ant, and then you go fucking Quantumania. It's all stupid nanotech again.
Yep.
And there's some of the worst nanotech. If you slow down when they both put on their suits right at the beginning, when they're doing the little montage of the world is saved by Hope, because Hope's amazing. They have like 5 frames of the suit going from a little hockey puck to the whole of their body. It's like they are really cutting corners these days. They just can't be asked anymore. And it's like, you know what would be easier? Just have them get into a suit, like an actual suit. Just do that.
Remember Daredevil? No, sorry, no. Deadpool 2. Like the post-credit scene where like a guy's getting mugged and he's trying to like change into his suit and he like goes into a phone booth and it's like takes ages because he can't get the
Yeah.
damn thing on.
Then he's
It's
dead.
like, yeah,
dead.
yeah, exactly. I like that though. It's just like
I-
that's what it
Iron
would be
Man
really
is-
like.
Iron Man's one of my favorite, and Wolverine has always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah. You know, the one that made me sad was the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they all had this really unique look in the previous movies, and then Guardians 3,
Yeah.
like they all had the same generic sort of leathery outfit on, and just looked like shit. It was so boring to look
Apparently
at.
they were comic accurate suits that a lot of people were happy to see, but good God, I was like, just give Star-Lord his mask, please.
Yeah, what
A
was
cool
that? I
fucking
mean,
mask.
he's out in space. How come he didn't flip his mask on?
Yeah.
Well,
That was-
James Gunn said that mask was destroyed at the end of Guardians 2, yet somehow
Was
it
it?
returned in Infinity War. Like he was annoyed that they resurrected it in Infinity War, but it's like, why wouldn't he have more than? Why would he only have one of those? Like, of course he'd have. They're really good.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's
right.
so-
Or send away on Amazon for the next one, or
And so then he said he forgot it. Like they just
Left it in his drawer.
Literally, yes. That's the running excuse for it because
yeah,
of course.
Get onto
As-
AliExpress, get the cheap Chinese knockoff, and at least you got a spare.
It's a real shame because you can still write it so it got destroyed in the middle of a fight in the third act because anyone who's seen the film, I don't know why I'm avoiding spoilers, it's been out for a while, but if he had that mask, a certain set of things would have been different.
Oh yeah. Next one says Asher Dales says would much rather spend money on the drinker than see the Flash. You and the lads provide infinitely more entertainment. Cheers, man. Don't forget that Miller is a troglodyte monster masquerading in human skin. Well, he's actually the wizard demon goose thing, like of like whatever cult that he's in. I can't remember what he called himself, but yeah, it's something weird. Yeah, it's funny how Hollywood like really rushed to forgive Ezra Miller and just rehabilitate him as quickly as possible. Whereas if it was most other actors doing the same shit he'd pulled, like they would have been out. I mean, look at Jonathan Majors. Like he's pretty much done now, and he's just had a bunch of like unfounded allegations leveled at him. That seems to be all he has, and he's gone.
He's only got one checkbox in the victim list, though.
That's true, yeah. Ezra is very special.
Multiple. Oh yeah, very special. And can you imagine the pressure Warner Brothers put on him to keep his nose clean? So from now on, like, could you imagine the conversation? Like, I would have loved to have been there.
I think, well, it's very clear, like, when they've got him doing the publicity for this movie, it's like, just stand there and look like a model or something. Just look vapid and nice looking and don't open your mouth because, like, he's not doing any interviews, nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just try and keep the craziness to a minimum.
And don't wear any hand-me-down outfits from Sam, what's his name, the singer? What's the UK?
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith, yes, please do not wear any of Sam Smith's outfits.
What the fuck happened to that dude?
I don't
Honestly.
know.
He was fat. Relatively normal. Yeah, he got fat and crazy. And like he used to be relatively normal. Yeah.
A bad combination.
Wow.
At least Ezra Miller's in good shape. Like, yeah, Sam Smith's just this big blob of stupidity on screen.
The Cass Elliot of UK.
Yeah. RRTNZ says, Hail Drinker MauLer and the amazing Paul Chato.
Oh, very nice.
Can we get a boot to the head from the man Chato himself?
Yes, that's our catchphrase. If you guys in the UK don't know, although we were on Channel 4, our show, the four on the Floor was on Channel 4 in the UK back in the 80s.
Oh, nice.
Yes, our catchphrase was boot to the head, and all the American DJs used to use it for and this is our politician, boot to the head, and they would just name somebody, and we didn't get any royalties from it. And we had a sketch called Taekwon Leap, which Dr. Demento, if you guys know him, we won 2 years in a row, favorite comedy sketch in the United States. So it was a fun time. That was nice. It was good. Yeah. So yes, boot to the head to everyone out there.
He also says, hope you've introduced these Brits to Prisoners of Gravity. Live long and prosper.
Yep, that's a show that Rick Green from our group, The Frantics. It was probably the very first show ever that promoted sci-fi, comic books, fantasy. He had, Alan Moore on, Jack Kirby on his very last interview before he died. They had the biggest name. Neil Gaiman was on, and at the very beginning of his career, he actually says that the producer, Mark Asquith, helped kickstart his career. So he has a fond place for the Prisoners of Gravity and Canadians. And I actually interviewed Mark Asquith, who was the producer of Prisoners of Gravity. I'm editing it right now, and hopefully that will be on soon. So great stories about Neil Gaiman and Alan Moore and other Brits who helped with the industry.
Nice. Cool. Elsa Le Pen says, once I would have been excited to see Deadpool 3 being pushed up in release, but every new detail kills my hope that it'll be good. Way to miss a slam dunk, Disney. I mean, you're bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, man. It should be awesome, but Yeah, I can't see it.
They're going to have fun. I can't imagine the two of them who have been taking the mickey out of each other for years online won't be continuing that. In fact, I would start the movie pretending that everybody had been race and gender swapped. Like the
You
first
could
10
get.
minutes should
I just.
be. Go ahead, what?
You could absolutely have fun with that. I just don't think Disney would be willing to mock themselves in that way. I just don't think
Yeah.
they would allow it, and it's such a
If they would
shame.
let me write the movie, that's the first 10 minutes would be done very seriously without giving it away that they've been race and gender swapped. And they just play it straight and then later on find what the flip around is. I don't know what it would be, but that would be part of their sense of humor, that they have to make fun. They have to bite the hand that feeds them or it's not fun.
That was the whole point of Deadpool. It was so irreverent.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yep.
great. Like that's what people liked.
Do you remember?
but-
I'm hoping we get some fun from it in the form of like Brad Pitt turning up just to be killed in a few seconds. Like that was pretty fun.
Well, Deadpool even appeared in DC Comics and continued that, the hand that bites the whatever. What did I say? The
bite the hand that feeds them.
Yeah, bite the hand that feeds you. That's right.
Crazy Greg says, "Hail Drinker, I just finished reading I Am C-3PO by Anthony Daniels. He didn't explicitly say that he hated TLJ, but prior to filming Rise of Skywalker, he'd been listening to YouTube rants, Critical Drinker, about the previous two films. Enough said." I mean, I don't know, what can I say about Anthony Daniels? He's a good company man. Like, and if there's ever an opportunity to play C-3PO in movies, TV shows, kids' birthday parties, like he'll probably go and do it. Because it's like his whole career now. But yeah, man, it's I think he even knows. The one that always made me sad was the guy who played Admiral Akbar, who like apparently was reduced to tears because like Ryan Johnson was just taking the piss out of him.
It was nobody cared when they filmed his scene where he died, and they were like, "Well, that's your last scene. Bye." He was just like, I remember him talking about how he's like, "Is that it? Like, hello? That's the end of Admiral. Okay,
That's all you get."
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
It's like, oof.
David Lamplow says, whatever the show's Anthony Starr as Homelander in The Boys absolutely kills it. The latest teaser for season 4 confirmed it once more to me. Also, Covenant was amazing. I'm glad you got to watch it. Nice. And Anthony Starr is very good as Homelander.
Oh my God. Creepy as hell. It's the thin lips.
Yeah. It's the veneer of like charm and like square jawed American heroism, but like this horrible monster underneath it all. It's great, and you feel like he could straight up kill anyone at any moment.
And he's Australian.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
You'd never know. He does a good accent.
He is so good in that show. It's staggering. What a wonderful, terrible character to cheer for.
Yeah. Northern English Bastard says, "Dear Critical Drinker, I've decided to try my hand at video reviews myself. With Indy 5 set to bomb, I thought I'd review the OG movies, maybe even Indiana Jones 4 too. Do it. Yeah, have some fun with the old ones. Like, yeah. It's always good to reminisce about the good stuff." JK Fozel says, "Hey MauLer, any chance you would do an EFAP for a children's show? If you guys haven't seen, there's a show called Bluey, and it definitely qualifies as better than it has any right to be. It's called Bluey."
Never heard of it. I'm sorry.
No.
What is this blasphemy? Kyle Kernan says, "Rank the Avengers movies plus Civil War." It's like...
Okay,
I mean,
so...
the first one's probably the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's gonna.
I didn't like Voltron.
Ultron wasn't very good.
Sorry.
So for me, it's going to be Civil War and Avengers. I could take either of them as my favorite. And then obviously the second place would go to one of them too. Then Infinity War. Then, and this is probably the controversial part, Age of Ultron, then Endgame. I think Endgame's awful.
I might put Civil War above the first Avengers, actually.
It's pretty neat.
It's good movie. I'd probably go Civil War, then the first Avengers, then Infinity War, then Age of Ultron, and then Endgame. I think.
Does
I'll
Chato
go
wanna-
with those.
All right.
Okay. Bear Business says, do you think South Park will re-release the Indiana Jones episode with a disclaimer at the beginning? Disney did it again. We are not animating this a second time.
Yeah.
You're raping him. Stop it. Unhinged says, describe your favorite Sunday. This has got to be a reference to Hot Fuzz, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Go for a nice walk in the morning and then stop off at a charming country pub for a lunch and a couple of pints, and then go home and watch some TV, and then do an open bar and rant about stuff. There you go.
Yeah. I'll reflect that. Throw in some video games.
Yeah. I'll do a couple more. Drunken Git says, getting married in a couple of months, and my best man Mike is watching and wants some ideas for my stag. Help him out. Well, if it doesn't involve you getting super glued to a llama, then it's not worth even talking about, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah.
But since we just talked about Brits. What Hot Fuzz? What happened to Simon Pegg? Like, where's he?
Oh, Simon. Well, he's doing the Mission Impossible movie still, isn't he?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
he's got a paycheck.
Oh yeah, he gets a paycheck. I think he's very much bought into the Hollywood machine at this point. Because was he not coming out in defense of like She-Hulk?
Yes, he did. He had one of the weepy presentations in his car, which is one
Yep.
of Disney's go-to marketing plans.
It's relatable because it was done on the fly in his car. It wasn't
That's
rehearsed,
right.
honestly.
Old
It's
white
like you could
British
just,
actors weeping in their cars for Disney shows.
It's just
None of
funny
them
'cause you
can
could see him. You
do it
could
at
see him
home.
glancing over to the script. Like every so often, his eyes would just dart over to the left. Like, what am I supposed to say next? Oh yeah, Tatiana Maslany is da bomb. She's funnier than I ever was. Sure. Okay.
Anyways, I just
Simon,
thought I'd
no.
ask because he seems to have fallen off the radar for me. I used to like
He
his
kind of
stuff.
has, which sucks. Him
As a
and, you know,
comedian, as a comedian, I'm not seeing any of that from him. Like it's
Yeah.
always sad when you see a comedian disappear on you.
Yeah. He just became mainstream, I suppose.
Yep, I guess. Yep.
Yeah. They had their time with the Cornetto trilogy and stuff, and then he just kind of got sucked into Hollywood.
Well, it's funny, right? Because I would always buy into the whole, like, and I agree. Like, if they had said, "Hey, we've done our 3, we want to move on to other projects," I'd be like, "Totally fair, totally fair." If this was what they meant, I'd be like, "Oh no, actually commit, make more." Like, I don't know, this direction, maybe, I don't know. Like, 'cause, all 3 of them, like Nick Frost turns up in some TV shows here and there. Simon Pegg was in the Star Trek films, which are notoriously fantastic, and the Mission Impossible films, he's the nerd guy on the computer sometimes. And then Edgar Wright, Last Night in Soho and Baby Driver. Is there anything else?
I think he's still a talented director.
I'm certain he's very talented. To be honest with you, I know that it's a monkey's paw effect, right? If I'd said, you guys should have made more stuff, because I might have ended up with something horrible, but I don't know. I feel like we got the worst timeline out of the several on offer.
I think it's the Hollywoodizing of people. I mean, I think back to Bill Forsyth and his early movies, and what charming movies they were. Comfort and Joy, Local Hero. I mean, those were just incredible movies, and then he kind of stopped. I think he did a Hollywood movie that kind of broke him.
Someone asking here, was Baby Driver worth watching? I'm going to say not really. Like, if you're really into car chases, you'll probably get a kick out of it, but man, the actual plot underpinning it was weak as fuck.
So,
the main
this is the
character
thing for me
was
is-
boring.
Filmmaking, there's loads to appreciate. The writing, less so. And that's
Yeah.
the thing for me with the Edgar Wright projects. Like, I adore almost every aspect of the filmmaking, very much including the script. So watching something where I was like, oh, the script is just meh, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's supposed to be tight. It's supposed to be like well structured and smart and like subversive and just like interesting. Like that was the whole point of like what he did. And like when you just see a generic, chase thriller kind of movie, like it's not that great.
Maybe it's the filmmaking is what turns his crank.
I mean, it could be. It could be that he's got a very specific niche as a director and a writer, and that's what he works in. Because, MauLer and I have talked about Last Night in Soho. That was just a weird fit for him. Really felt like it was outside his wheelhouse, and it just didn't fit with his style of filmmaking. And so
Didn't he
you got, like, a
write
horror.
that?
I'm pretty sure
I think, yeah.
it was like a sort of a baby, to him, like a in terms of a project. And it was, I wouldn't recommend it at all.
I loved Scott Pilgrim. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but
Yeah, it was pretty
I
fun.
like Scott Pilgrim, yeah, and this is kind of the thing. I would even recommend Baby Driver as an Edgar Wright fan. It's like it's worth seeing to see some of the things he achieves in it. But Last Night in Soho, which is unfortunate because it's the latest work from him, I was like, yeah, stay away from that one. It's not worth it.
And it's a shame because it's got a good cast,
yep.
really good cast. But yeah, they can't fix it. Waylon Vicefus says bourbon or scotch? Scotch, I would say. Drunken Git says, what do you guys think of Hollywood actors in games like Keanu Reeves or Idris Elba in Cyberpunk? I'm fine with that. As long as it's not like, you don't really see the character, you just see the actor. I don't know if like people had that effect with Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk, where it's like, oh, it's just Keanu Reeves in the game. That's kind of cool, but like I don't see the character he's playing.
Yeah, it's going to be execution, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be surprised. A lot of people didn't realize it was. Jesus, why am I forgetting his name? Inspector Gordon in the Nolan films. Incredibly famous actor that I'm blanking on for some reason.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yeah, he was the voice of Reznov in Call of Duty: World at War, and a lot of people didn't even know. And that's probably when it's best utilized, when you have just this great actor. Kiefer Sutherland was in that game as well.
I don't always understand then the desire to make the character physically match the actor, because like Lance Reddick did it in like the Horizon games, and it's like I kind of just see Lance Reddick there, like great actor and stuff, but it's like
I genuinely think that's part of the tightrope, because like on one end you could be like, why hire the actor if you're gonna make them fall so far into the role that you can't even recognize it's them anymore? Like, what star power have you got at that point? But it's like, well, maybe you are hiring them because they're very talented at their job, I guess. But then, of course, the other way is like if you only have them turn up to be them, then that can be distracting, and you can have the really bad result, like Peter Dinklage in Destiny. Do you guys remember that?
Was he in Destiny?
Yeah, he got replaced. His VA was so bad they replaced him with Nolan North.
I don't know what direction they gave him, but it was like make your voice as flat and monotone, and boring as possible.
He'd be like, "Go that way. Now do this. Hello, how are you doing?"
That was purely a result of Game of Thrones. It was like, this guy's cool. Let's just put him in the game. Here's an interesting one. It's kind of for me, but I think we'll put it out to the whole panel. From Magmoor says, Hail Drinker, thoughts on the Schwarzenegger flick The Sixth Day? It's campy, but an interesting take on cloning and its repercussions.
I never saw it.
That movie wimped out to fuck on the ending. Like,
wait, what do you mean? Is it the clone?
Well, there's two Schwarzeneggers. Like, obviously, there's two, like a clone and the original, and it's like they should have killed one. They have both of them survive. Just felt like we got to have like a nice, happy ending that everyone can feel like comfortable with. And it's like, no, you're missing.
I remember that movie being goofy, but I remember liking it. I need to rewatch it. Maybe we should do that sometime.
Never heard of it.
Michael Rooker's in it as well, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So yeah, it's like a world where you can clone a person and you can copy their memories, so you can download that into their new body. So like, as long as you've got a recent copy, it's like save games in a video game.
It's like altered carbon.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah.
Isn't it illegal though? If I remember, you can do it with your pets in that universe, but you can
so
do
it's
it
like
with people. But then a guy, if I remember correctly, at the opening is like a football game, American football, and a guy gets fucking like his neck gets completely annihilated in a fight, and he's clearly dead. And then he comes back like the next day, and everyone's like, "Wait, what?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's him. Don't worry about it." And then obviously that gives you the idea. And I think they talk about how they did it with sheep, and that it's become a thing. And then there's just this corporation that is trying to make a shit ton of money out of it and stuff. It's not like, I don't remember it being terrible. So
and it's one thing as well. Like if you get cloned, like if your original form dies and they clone you and give you your original memories, so like they can bring you back essentially. But what happens if the original you is still alive? Like, who is the real you? And so like that's part of it as well. But
yeah, and I remember there's a decent payoff with like the CEO of the company that he gets his clone ready as he's dying, but he hasn't even died yet, and the clone is just like, "You're not you anymore. I'm you. Fuck off." Like you're
Well, yeah,
you're
because
the...
it's like it's stripping his clothes off him, like while
Yeah.
he's dying. He's like, "Are you gonna wait till I'm dead?" And the clone's just like, "Well, you wouldn't, so why should I?"
Yeah, like what,
Like,
why? Like,
yeah.
there's some stuff in there that's fun.
But yeah, it's like I feel like someone like Christopher Nolan would have a lot more, I don't know, a more intellectual take on it. He'd explore it in a lot more depth, whereas this is just like kind of a Schwarzenegger action movie.
Yeah.
Cody Griffin says, "Can't wait for season 2 of Rings of Power so that maybe we can finally see what Galadriel has seen." We're all excited about that. What fucking world are we living in where Velma and like Rings of Power are getting second seasons?
It would never happen in my era of network TV.
Yeah, because it's brutal, wasn't it? It's like you sank or swam.
Yeah, and like you've got a great show, but you're up against the A team. Bye. Sorry,
Yeah.
but it's a great show. Yeah, but you're only doing a 7.5 share. Bye.
Yeah. Someone's saying, "Thanks for your intellectual input, Smokey." Yeah, he's really contributed a lot on this one. I'm going to check he's still alive. Smokey! Oh, there he is.
Alive and well.
What
Yeah,
a sweet,
he's like,
what a
yeah.
sweet dog.
Still moved. Yeah, MauLer's missing tentacle says, "Hail Papa MauLer. In my travels, I've uncovered the nefarious truth about ESG. It's a con from BlackRock and Vanguard to buy up more stock cheap. Make companies meet certain criteria and policies they normally wouldn't be so publicly amenable to, create fallout between consumers and corporations, buy up stock cheap, and when profits drop, ESG will vanish in 5 to 10 years. Okay. Mr. Drinker, the Jaw is coming for you. She is hungry and has her sights set on you. Beware." I love how there's like this was directed at specific people. Like MauLer, you had to know about that ESG stuff. And I had to know about the Jaw coming for me. Okay.
I don't want to talk about ESG.
Yeah, I'll consider myself warned anyway. Kevbot says, "Hey all, anyone remember the Young Indiana Jones Adventures? Lucasfilm series from the early 90s starring Sean Patrick Flannery as young Indy."
Yeah,
I
that was
do
great.
remember it, yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
They were fun and well-meaning and just nice. I like that. That was a weird time in Lucasfilm because it was like after Star Wars and everything, but like before they really started work on the prequels, and it was just like, yeah, we're kind of just coasting here, just having a bit of fun with old stuff. It was weird. I'll do a couple more and then finish up. Tyler Wolf says, "Chris, how do you deal with seeing crap every week?" Probably the same way we deal with it. Lots of booze.
Support groups.
I don't enjoy it when it's an assignment.
Yeah.
Like homework.
Like homework, yes.
Like when you know people want to see you review it, so it's like, well, I gotta go see this.
Well, also your reviews are different from mine. Yours are really entertaining. I mean, my wife loves listening to your reviews partly because she loves the Scottish accent. No, you can't have her. You do make it really entertaining. The reviews, mine, I have a different trajectory for when I do reviews. So,
but yours are
We've all
good
got
because
our
like we get
styles.
your insight. Yeah, like well, everyone brings something different.
Yeah.
Like a different perspective.
yeah, absolutely. I can't do what you're doing.
Well, I'm not a TV executive either, so I can't do what you do.
Former.
Yeah. Well, sorry, former. Yeah. Glippy says, "MauLer, what's your worst episodes of Buffy and Angel?"
Buffy is probably going to, and by the way, I still kind of enjoy watching these episodes, but what will come to mind so that we can keep this one under fucking 10 years? The Buffy episode Go Fish, which is, it opens with like Creatures of the Black Lagoon type of stuff, but the swim team are gradually becoming creatures of the Black Lagoon type looking things, and it's like, why? And we find out that the coach of the swim team is sad because Sunnydale aren't winning and any trophies, and so he got access to a squirreled array fucking Russian experiment to create fish people, and he used it on the sauna in Sunnydale to create a bunch of fish people in the swim team to win awards, and they then ate him and swam out into the middle of the ocean, and we never see them again. It's one of the stupidest fucking episodes. It's like season 2, I think. So Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a moment where he feeds like the school lunch lady to all of his team members. They just tear her apart, and he throws Buffy in with them. And I think someone says like, "Didn't you just feed them the lunch lady?" And he's like, "Oh, my boys have other needs." And it's like,
Wow.
what the fuck? As for Angel, I'd probably pick like there's a couple of episodes from season 4, but to make it a little bit more dynamic, there's an episode in season 1 where they establish that if he takes a certain happy pill, like a pill that makes you happy, he'll temporarily lose his soul. And for anybody who is familiar with the show, that was fucking stupid as an idea, and it screws up a lot of the stakes and understanding. So you kind of just ignore that episode in your head to make sure the soul canon remains intact. But yeah, there you go. Those are answers.
Ceteris Pyrobuses says no proper EFAP on Saturday, and now this getting the shakes.
Hey, we had one on Tuesday. You had your early EFAPins, and you got that Gollum supercut, all right? So, if anything, you got more this week than usual.
And Grimnack says, cheers, gentlemen. MauLer, when are you going to be on Critics Court? Maybe Chris could get someone who could actually be a challenge, but I doubt it.
I told Chris, like, recently I'm a bit behind on some of the projects I want to do, and I figured he'd have plenty of people to be able to talk Star Wars. But if he plans on doing this again with, let's say, Terminator, Alien, Predator, any of them, I will happily book myself in to be a prosecutor on any of those franchises being annihilated.
Your arguments are going to take like 5 hours, aren't they? Like,
I will tailor them to be under 10 hours.
I like doing the defense of all these terrible properties. I enjoy that. I enjoy the challenge.
Well, it's an interesting sort of exercise. It's a tough one in some cases. Like, oof,
It's funny watching with drinkers, like they ruined it, and then their defense was, "Well, George ruined it first."
Yeah, we just carried on his legacy. I mean, yeah, good effort. Yeah. But gentlemen, I'll probably finish it up there. It's been awesome having you guys on tonight, and like Paul, thank you for coming in. It's been a while since we've had you on Open Bar, so thank you, man.
It's my pleasure. Happy to do it again.
Paul's, the link to Paul's channel is in the description. He like brings some awesome insights into like how the mindset of like studios and TV executives and stuff works nowadays, and just great insights into geek culture and like the current state of entertainment. So if you haven't followed him already, please give him a subscribe. And the same goes for Chris from Film Threat as well. Like brilliant stuff that they produce, and they're doing a great series on putting Star Wars on trial at the moment. So yeah, give them a follow.
Wait till my next video will be, apart from some reviews, why the old gays of Hollywood hate the new gays. Wait till you see that one.
Why can't the gays get along?
I know.
No, they can't. It's. I'll wait to watch my video.
The war amongst the gays.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you all guys for joining us for this one tonight, and thank you to my mods for the awesome work that they always do, and the super chats. Thank you for your generosity. If we haven't caught them all tonight, we will catch up with them on Sunday as we always do.
And I guess you guys can go to sleep now.
We can, yeah. It's like midnight
we can,
or something.
But will we?
Yeah, I'm off to dinner. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, and that's all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.